The text wasn't meant for him, but he answered anyway. Mia Callahan's life shattered in the span of a heartbeat. Cheating boyfriend, broken trust, a wine-fueled rage text sent to the wrong number. What she expected? Silence. What she got? Dante Varelli. A stranger with sharp words and sharper secrets. Their accidental connection ignited something neither could control, a dangerous game of attraction, power, and choices that can't be undone. This is the story of a wrong number that became a point of no return. If you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your city in the comments. I want to see how far this story travels. And if you stay until the end, hit that like button. You won't regret it. Mia's hands shook as she stared at her phone screen. The wine in her other hand sloshed against the rim of the glass, threatening to spill onto the couch cushions she'd picked out with Jason 3 months ago. Jason. The name tasted like ash now. She could still see them, still smell the perfume that wasn't hers clinging to his collar when he'd walked through the door 2 hours earlier. The lipstick smudge on his neck that he'd tried to explain away with a laugh, like she was stupid enough to believe his secretary had accidentally kissed him during a work dinner. "Babe, you're overreacting," he'd said, hands up like she was the unreasonable one. It didn't mean anything. That's what made her angrier. Not that he'd cheated, but that he thought she was dumb enough to swallow the lie without choking on it. She told him to get out. He'd actually looked surprised, like he'd expected her to just accept it and move on. When he finally left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame, she'd made it all of 5 minutes before the anger turned into something uglier. Something that needed to get out or it would eat her from the inside. So she typed, fast, furious, every word a middle finger. "We're done. I saw her. I smelled her on you. Don't call me. Don't text me. Lose my number and choke on whatever bullshit excuse you were planning to feed me next." She hit send before she could second guess it. The wine glass was empty now. She didn't remember finishing it. Her vision blurred at the edges, tears or alcohol. She couldn't tell. Didn't care. The phone buzzed in her hand and she looked down, expecting Jason's name, expecting some pathetic attempt at damage control. Instead, she saw a number she didn't recognize. The message read, "I don't know who you are, but whoever he is, he's an idiot." Mia blinked. Read it again. Her brain struggled to catch up. Wrong number. She'd sent her breakup text to a complete stranger. "Oh, fuck," she whispered. Her first instinct was to apologize, delete the thread, pretend it never happened, but something stopped her. Maybe it was the wine. Maybe it was the way the stranger's response felt less like pity and more like solidarity. She didn't know. Didn't care. She typed back, "Great. Now I'm the idiot who can't even send a breakup text to the right person." The reply came fast. Too fast. "At least you're self-aware. That's more than most people." A laugh broke out of her, sharp and unexpected. It felt wrong, laughing when her entire relationship had just imploded, but she couldn't help it. Whoever this person was, they weren't offering her the sympathy she didn't want. They weren't asking if she was okay. They were just there. She typed, "Who are you?" Someone who's bored, and now mildly entertained. "What's your name?" She hesitated. Giving her name to a stranger felt reckless. But everything about tonight already felt reckless. So what was one more bad decision? Mia. Dante. Short. Simple. No pleasantries. She liked that. "So Dante, do you make a habit of responding to angry breakup texts from strangers?" "First time." "You make a habit of sending them to the wrong number?" "Also a first. Then we're both breaking new ground. Cheers." She didn't know why she smiled. Didn't know why she kept typing when she should have just put the phone down and gone to bed. But the conversation felt like a distraction, and distraction was exactly what she needed. "What would you have done?" she typed. "If you were me?" The response took longer this time. She watched the 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. "Depends. Do you want the honest answer or the one that makes you feel better?" "Honest. I would have made him regret it. Not with words. Words are cheap. But in a way he'd remember." A chill ran through her. Not fear. Something else. Something that made her sit up straighter. "That sounds ominous. You asked for honest. Fair. So what do you do, Dante? Professional revenge consultant?" "Something like that." She laughed again, softer this time. The wine was starting to settle in her veins, making everything feel looser, easier, dangerous. Are you always this cryptic? Are you always this curious? Only when I'm drunk and heartbroken. Dangerous combination. Tell me about it. The conversation drifted. She told him about Jason, about the 3 years she'd wasted, about the apartment lease they'd just renewed. He didn't offer advice, didn't try to fix anything. He just listened, responded, pushed back when she started spiraling into self-pity. "You're better off," he typed at one point. "You don't even know me. I know enough. You texted a stranger instead of begging him to come back." That says something. Maybe it just says, "I'm bad at relationships." Or maybe it says, "You're done settling." She stared at the screen. Read the message 3 times. Something about it felt too accurate, too close to a truth she wasn't ready to face. "You don't know anything about me," she typed. "Then tell me." And she did. She didn't know why. Didn't know what possessed her to spill her guts to someone whose face she'd never seen, whose voice she'd never heard. But the words came anyway. About her job at the marketing firm she hated. About her mother who called every Sunday to ask when she was getting married. About the version of herself she'd become over the past 3 years. Smaller, quieter, less. Dante didn't interrupt. Didn't offer empty reassurances. When he finally responded, it was blunt. "So stop being that person. It's not that simple. It is. You just don't want it to be." Anger flared in her chest. Who the hell was this guy to lecture her? Easy for you to say. You don't know what it's like. You're right, I don't. But I know what it's like to waste time on things that don't matter. And from where I'm sitting, you just got handed an opportunity. An opportunity? My boyfriend cheated on me. Exactly. Now you don't have to waste any more time pretending he was worth it. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him he was an asshole, but the truth was, he wasn't wrong. Jason hadn't been worth it, not for a long time. She'd just been too comfortable, too scared of starting over to admit it. "I hate that you're making sense," she typed. "Get used to it." The conversation stretched into hours. She didn't notice time passing, didn't notice the second bottle of wine she'd opened, didn't notice the way her chest felt lighter with every message. Dante was sharp, funny in a dark way, and completely uninterested in coddling her. It was refreshing, dangerous, addictive. At some point she asked, "What do you look like? Does it matter?" "Maybe." "Why?" "Because I'm trying to figure out if you're real or if I'm hallucinating." "You're not hallucinating." "But I'm not sending you a picture." "Why not?" "Because mystery is more interesting." She rolled her eyes, even though he couldn't see it. "You're infuriating." "So I've been told." The sun was starting to rise when she finally noticed the time. 6:30 in the morning. She'd been talking to a stranger for almost 7 hours. "I should sleep," she typed. "Probably. Will you still be here tomorrow?" A pause. Then, "Do you want me to be?" She hesitated. The smart answer was no. The safe answer was to delete the thread, block the number, pretend this whole thing never happened. But safe hadn't gotten her anywhere. Safe had led her to Jason, to a life that fit like a sweater 2 sizes too small. "Yes." "Then I'll be here." She fell asleep with the phone still in her hand, Dante's last message glowing on the screen. When she woke up, it was past noon. Her head throbbed, her mouth tasted like regret, and her phone was dead. She plugged it in, waited for it to power on, and immediately checked her messages. 3 texts from Jason. She deleted them without reading. 1 text from Dante. "Still alive?" She smiled despite the hangover. "Barely." "You?" "Thriving." "How's the heartbreak?" "Less devastating than the hangover. Progress." The conversation picked up like they hadn't stopped. Easy. Natural. By the time she dragged herself out of bed and into the shower, she'd already sent him a dozen messages. By the time she made coffee, it was 2 dozen. This went on for 3 days. Texts turned into phone calls. His voice was deeper than she'd imagined, rough around the edges, but controlled. He didn't ask about Jason anymore. Didn't need to. They talked about everything else, movies, music, the existential dread of grocery shopping on a Sunday afternoon. On the 4th day, he said something that made her stop mid-sip of her coffee. "I want to meet you." She nearly choked. "What?" "You heard me." "Dante, I don't even know your last name." "Varelli. Dante Varelli. Now you do." That doesn't mean, Mia. His voice was calm, steady. I want to meet you. If you don't, that's fine, but I think you do too. She wanted to say no. Wanted to tell him this was crazy, that people didn't just meet strangers they'd been texting for less than a week. But the truth was, she did want to meet him. Had been wondering what he looked like, how he carried himself, whether the version of him in her head matched reality. Where? She asked. Wherever you're comfortable. Public place? Smart. They settled on a coffee shop in the city, neutral ground. She told herself it was just coffee. Just a conversation, nothing more. But when she walked in and saw him sitting in the corner booth, all of that logic evaporated. Dante Varelli was not what she expected. Tall, dark hair that looked like he'd run his hands through it too many times. A suit that probably cost more than her rent. But it was his eyes that stopped her. Dark, sharp, assessing. The kind of eyes that saw too much and gave away nothing. He stood when he saw her, smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Mia. Dante. They sat, ordered coffee. The silence stretched, awkward in a way their texts never were. You're staring, he said. So are you. Fair. She took a sip of her coffee, trying to settle the nerves crackling under her skin. You're not what I expected. Disappointed? I didn't say that. His smile widened just slightly. Good. The conversation found its rhythm again, easier in person than she'd thought it would be. He asked about her job, her life, the ex she didn't want to talk about. She asked about his work, and he deflected with the kind of skill that told her he'd had practice. You're dodging, she said. You're perceptive. What do you do, Dante? He leaned back, studying her. I solve problems. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting today. She should have pushed, should have demanded more, but something in his tone told her it wouldn't work, so she let it go. They talked for 2 hours. When he walked her to her car, his hand brushed hers and she felt it like a spark. Same time next week? He asked. You're assuming I want to see you again. Am I wrong? She wanted to lie. Wanted to play it cool, keep the upper hand. But she'd never been good at games. No. Good. He walked away before she could say anything else, leaving her standing in the parking lot with her heart racing and her head spinning. The second meeting turned into a third. The third turned into dinners. Dinners turned into late-night drives through the city, windows down, music too loud. He was magnetic in a way that felt dangerous, like standing too close to the edge of a cliff and liking the view. She didn't ask about his work again, didn't push when he deflected, but she noticed things. The way people looked at him when they walked into restaurants, recognition, sometimes fear. The phone calls he'd step away to take, voice dropping to something cold and final. The driver who appeared out of nowhere when they left a bar one night, Dante's hand firm on her lower back as he guided her into a car that cost more than her college tuition. You're rich, she said one night, wine loose and curious. I'm comfortable. That's an understatement. Does it bother you? Should it? He looked at her, really looked at her, and she felt the weight of it. That depends on what you're willing to accept. What does that mean? It means my life isn't simple, Mia, and if you keep seeing me, it's going to get complicated. Is that a warning? It's a fact. She should have walked away, should have thanked him for the drinks and the distraction, and gone back to her safe, boring life. But safe had never made her feel the way Dante did. Safe had never made her feel alive. I'm not scared of complicated, she said. His smile was sharp. You should be, but he kissed her anyway. Hard, fast, like he'd been holding back and finally couldn't anymore. She kissed him back, hands fisting in his shirt, heart pounding so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. When they broke apart, she was breathing hard, dizzy. Come with me, he said. Where? Does it matter? It didn't. She followed him to his car, to a penthouse that overlooked the city, to a bed that swallowed her whole. And when the sun came up, she didn't leave, didn't want to. Sus. 3 weeks in, he made her an offer. They were lying in his bed, sheets tangled around their legs, the city lights bleeding through the floor-to-ceiling windows. I want to propose something, he said. She turned to look at him. I'm listening. This, us, It works, but it's messy. You're still getting over him. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I'm dealing with my own shit. Okay? So let's make it simple. No expectations, no promises, just this. Just what? An arrangement. You help me forget my problems. I help you move on from yours. She should have been offended, should have told him to go to hell and walked out. But the truth was, she didn't want promises, didn't trust them. And the idea of something with no strings, no pressure, no risk of turning into another Jason, it was tempting. What's in it for you? She asked. You, this, something that doesn't feel like work. And what's in it for me? He smiled. Everything you've been too scared to ask for. She didn't answer right away. Let the silence stretch. Let him wonder. But they both knew what she was going to say. Okay. His hand found hers in the dark. Squeezed. Okay. The arrangement became routine. Dinners at restaurants where the waitstaff knew his name. Weekends on yachts. She didn't ask how he afforded. Late nights where he fucked her like he was trying to forget something and she let him because she was trying to forget too. But the shadows followed him. She saw them in the way his phone buzzed at odd hours, the way his jaw tightened when certain names appeared on the screen, the way he'd leave in the middle of the night and come back smelling like smoke and something metallic she didn't want to name. She didn't ask, didn't want to know, until the night she couldn't ignore it anymore. They were at his place, dinner half-eaten on the counter, when his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and something in his expression shifted. Hard, cold. I need to take this, he said. Okay. He stepped into the other room, but the walls were thin enough that she heard pieces, enough to make her stomach drop. I don't care what he thinks. No, I'll handle it. If he becomes a problem, he stops being a problem, permanently. When he came back, his face was a mask. Everything okay? She asked, even though she knew it wasn't. It's handled. Dante? Drop it, Mia. She did, but the question burned in her chest, refusing to die. 2 nights later, she found out. She'd gone to his place unannounced, something she'd started doing because he told her she could. When she walked in, she expected to find him alone. Instead, she found him in the living room with 2 men she didn't recognize. One of them had blood on his shirt. Dante's eyes locked on hers. For the first time since she'd met him, she saw something close to panic. Mia, you shouldn't be here. The men turned to look at her. One of them smiled. It wasn't friendly. Who's this? The man asked. No one, Dante said too quickly. Mia, go. But she couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The pieces were falling into place, sharp and cutting. What is this? She asked, voice shaking. Dante crossed the room in 3 strides, grabbed her arm, pulled her toward the door. We'll talk later. Just go. Dante? Now, Mia. She went. But not because he told her to. Because she was scared. Scared of what she'd seen. Scared of what it meant. She drove home on autopilot, hands shaking on the wheel. When she got to her apartment, she locked the door, poured a drink she didn't want, and waited. He showed up an hour later, didn't knock. Just used the key she'd given him 2 weeks ago and walked in like he owned the place. We need to talk, he said. No shit. He sat down across from her, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. For a long moment, he didn't say anything, just looked at her like he was trying to figure out how much to tell her. I'm not a good man, Mia. I gathered. I fix problems for people who can't go to the police, for people who need things handled quietly. Her stomach turned. Handled. Yes. What does that mean? He met her eyes, didn't flinch. It means I do what needs to be done, whatever that is. Are you telling me Yes. The word hung between them, heavy and final. She should have kicked him out, should have called the cops, changed the locks, disappeared. But all she could think about was the way he'd looked at her that first night in the coffee shop, the way he'd listened when no one else had, the way he made her feel like she mattered. Why are you telling me this? She asked. Because you deserve to know what you're getting into. And if I walk away, something flickered in his eyes, pain maybe, or regret. Then you walk away. She looked at him, really looked at him, at the man who'd pulled her out of the wreckage of her own life and made her feel something other than broken. at the man who'd just confessed to being exactly the kind of person she should run from. "I should leave," she said. "You should." But she didn't move. Neither did he. "Dante, if I stay, if I do this, I need to know one thing." "What?" "Have you ever lied to me?" "No." "Will you?" "Not about anything that matters." It wasn't the answer she wanted, but it was honest. And honesty, she was learning, was rarer than she'd thought. She stood, crossed the room, stopped in front of him. "This is insane," she said. "I know. I should run." "You should." She kissed him instead, hard, desperate, like she was trying to prove something to herself. He kissed her back, hands in her hair, pulling her close. When they broke apart, she was breathing hard. "I'm not running," she said. He looked at her like she'd just signed her own death warrant. Maybe she had. "You're going to regret this," he said. "Probably." He kissed her again, and this time she didn't think about regret, didn't think about consequences. She just let herself fall. The next morning, Jason showed up at her apartment. She was making coffee when the buzzer rang. When she checked the camera, her stomach dropped. "Go away, Jason." "Mia, please. I just want to talk. We have nothing to talk about." 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." She should have said no, should have blocked him and moved on. But part of her, stupid, reckless, wanted to see him squirm. She buzzed him up. When she opened the door, he looked rough, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, shirt wrinkled. "Good." "What do you want?" she asked. "I want to apologize. I fucked up. I know that. But Mia, we can fix this. I love you." She almost laughed. "You don't love me, Jason. You love having someone around who doesn't call you on your shit. That's not—" "It is. And I'm done. So whatever you came here to say, save it." His face hardened. "Is there someone else?" "That's none of your business." "It is if you're throwing away 3 years for some—" "Careful," a voice said from behind him. Mia's heart stopped. Dante stood in the hallway, suit pristine, expression calm. But there was something in his eyes that made Jason take a step back. "Who the hell are you?" Jason asked. Dante smiled. It was the kind of smile that didn't promise anything good. "Someone you don't want to piss off." Jason looked between them, confusion turning to anger. "Oh, I get it. You move on fast, don't you?" "Jason, leave," Mia said. "I'm not done." Dante moved. One step, and he was between them, crowding Jason's space. "Yes, you are." Jason's bravado crumbled. Whatever he saw in Dante's face made him back up, hands raised. "Fine. Whatever. She's not worth it anyway." Dante's hand shot out, grabbed Jason by the collar, slammed him against the wall hard enough to rattle the pictures. "Say that again," Dante said, voice low and dangerous. "Dante," Mia said, heart pounding. "Let him go." For a second, she thought he wouldn't. Thought she was about to watch something she couldn't unsee. But then he released Jason, stepped back, smoothed his jacket. "Leave," Dante said, "and don't come back." Jason didn't need to be told twice. He practically ran for the elevator. When the doors closed, Mia turned to Dante. "What the hell was that?" He was disrespectful. "So you threatened him?" "I didn't threaten him. If I had, he'd know." She wanted to be angry, wanted to tell him he'd overstepped, but all she felt was a strange, twisted relief. "You can't just—" "I can, and I will. He doesn't get to talk to you like that." "Dante." He crossed the distance between them, cupped her face in his hands. "I told you my life was complicated. This is part of it. If you can't handle it, tell me now." She should have said she couldn't, should have drawn a line. But when she looked into his eyes, all she saw was the man who'd answered a text meant for someone else and changed everything. "I can handle it," she said. His kiss was softer this time, almost gentle. When he pulled back, he rested his forehead against hers. "You're going to ruin me," he whispered. "Good," she said. And somewhere in the back of her mind, a voice whispered that she'd just crossed a line she couldn't uncross, that there was no going back from this. But she didn't care. Not anymore. The days after Jason's visit felt different. heavier, like the air had changed composition and Mia was breathing something thicker, harder to pull into her lungs. She kept catching herself looking over her shoulder, checking her rearview mirror, double-locking her apartment door at night. Dante noticed but didn't comment. He just started showing up more, unannounced, like he'd claimed space in her life without asking permission. She should have minded, should have told him to back off, that she needed room to breathe. But the truth was, she didn't want him to leave. Didn't want to be alone with the thoughts that crept in when he wasn't there, the ones that whispered she'd made a terrible mistake. A week passed, then two. Life settled into a rhythm that felt normal on the surface. Dinners, late nights, mornings where she woke up tangled in sheets that smelled like him. But underneath, something was shifting. She felt it in the way he watched her sometimes, like he was waiting for her to realize what she'd gotten into and bolt. In the way his phone rang at 3 a.m. and he'd disappear into the bathroom, voice low and sharp, coming back 20 minutes later with tension written across his shoulders. She didn't ask. That was the deal they'd made, wasn't it? No promises, no expectations, just this. But the not asking was starting to eat at her. It came to a head on a Thursday night. They were supposed to meet for dinner at some upscale Italian place Dante liked, the kind where the menu didn't have prices and the waiters spoke in hushed tones. She'd spent an hour getting ready, picked out a dress she knew he'd like, black and fitted and expensive. A gift from him she'd initially refused until he'd literally put it in her hands and walked away. She got to the restaurant on time, waited 20 minutes, then 40, sent him a text that went unanswered. The waiter kept circling back, asking if she wanted to order, offering water refills she didn't need, and every pass made her feel smaller. When Dante finally walked in an hour late, he didn't apologize. Just sat down across from her like nothing was wrong, loosened his tie, and signaled the waiter. "You're late," she said. "I know." "That's it? You know?" He looked at her then, really looked, and she saw the exhaustion etched into the lines around his eyes. Something came up. Something always comes up. "Mia, no, don't Mia me. You don't get to show up an hour late without an explanation and expect me to just smile and pretend it's fine." His jaw tightened. "I'm here now." "That's not the point." "Then what is the point?" She opened her mouth, closed it. What was the point? That she wanted more than this arrangement they'd agreed to? That she was starting to care in ways that made her feel stupid and exposed? "Forget it," she said, standing up. "I'm leaving." His hand shot out, caught her wrist. Not hard, but firm enough to stop her. "Sit down." "Let go of me." "Sit down." The quiet authority in his voice made something in her spine straighten, half anger, half something else she didn't want to name. She sat, not because he told her to, but because walking away felt like admitting defeat. He released her wrist, sat back. "I'm sorry, okay? I got held up. It won't happen again." "You don't know that." "You're right, I don't. But I'm trying." "Are you?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it feels like I'm more invested in this than you are." Something flickered across his face. "You think I'm not invested?" "I don't know what you are, Dante. That's the problem." He leaned forward, elbows on the table, voice dropping low enough that she had to strain to hear it. "I'm here, aren't I? I show up, I make time. What more do you want from me?" "Honesty." "I've been honest." "Have you? Because I still don't know what you do half the time. I don't know who you're talking to when you disappear in the middle of the night. I don't know, and you don't need to." The words hit like a slap. She stared at him, heat rising in her chest. "Excuse me?" "This works because we don't ask questions, Mia. That was the deal." "Fuck the deal." His eyebrows rose. "Careful." "Or what? You'll leave?" "Go ahead. I'm not the one who needs this." "Neither am I." The lie was so obvious it almost made her laugh. But before she could call him on it, his phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it, and whatever he saw made his expression go cold. "I have to take this," he said, already standing. "Of course you do." He walked outside, phone to his ear, and she watched through the window as he paced, one hand raking through his hair. She couldn't hear what he was saying, but she could read his body language. Anger, frustration, something darker. When he came back, the mask was in place, but his eyes were still hard. "I need to go," he said. "Are you serious right now?" "It's important." More important than this? He hesitated. That tiny pause told her everything she needed to know. Yeah, she said, voice flat. Go. He looked at her like he wanted to say something, but whatever it was, he swallowed it. I'll call you later. Don't bother. He left. Just walked out and left her sitting alone at a table for two, the waiter hovering nearby with a pitying expression that made her want to scream. She ordered wine, drank 2 glasses, paid the bill with the credit card Dante had given her weeks ago, the one she'd told herself she wouldn't use. Petty, maybe, but it felt good. By the time she got home, the anger had burned down to something hollow. She kicked off her heels, peeled off the dress, and climbed into bed still wearing her makeup. Her phone buzzed. She ignored it, buzzed again and again. Finally, she looked. 5 texts from Dante. I'm sorry. It wasn't my choice. Let me explain. Please. Mia. She turned the phone off and stared at the ceiling until sleep dragged her under. She didn't hear from him for 3 days. 3 days of silence that felt louder than anything he could have said. She went to work, smiled at her coworkers, sat through meetings where she nodded in the right places, and contributed nothing of value. At night, she poured wine she didn't drink and stared at her phone, willing it to ring and hating herself for wanting it to. On the 4th day, he showed up at her office. She was walking out of a conference room, juggling her laptop and a coffee that had gone cold an hour ago, when she saw him standing by the elevators. He looked like he hadn't slept. Suit rumpled, tie loose, stubble darker than usual. What are you doing here? She asked. We need to talk. I'm working. Take a break. I don't want to. He stepped closer, lowered his voice. Mia, please. The please did something to her. She hated that it did, but it did. She glanced around, saw a few of her coworkers watching with poorly concealed curiosity, and made a decision. Fine, but not here. They went to a coffee shop 2 blocks away, the kind with exposed brick and overpriced lattes. She ordered nothing, just sat across from him in a corner booth and waited. I fucked up, he said. Yeah, you did. I should have stayed, should have told whoever it was to handle it themselves. Why didn't you? He looked at her, and for the first time she saw something raw in his expression. Because people depend on me, and if I don't show up when they need me, people get hurt. What people? People you don't know, people you don't want to know. Stop being cryptic. I'm done with that. He exhaled hard, scrubbed a hand over his face. There's a family, the Rossies. They're not good people, Mia. But they're connected, powerful, and they've been having problems with a rival group trying to move in on their territory. And what does that have to do with you? They hired me to fix it. The words settled heavy between them. She processed them slowly, carefully, like handling something that might explode. Fix it how? However they need me to. That's not an answer. It's the only one I can give you. She leaned back, crossed her arms. So what? You're their hired muscle? Their enforcer? Something like that. Jesus, Dante. I told you I wasn't a good man. Knowing it and seeing it are 2 different things. Then what do you want me to say? That I'm sorry? I am. That I wish my life was different? I do. But it's not. This is who I am, and if you can't handle it, I don't know if I can. The admission hurt to say. Hurt worse when she saw his face close off, walls slamming back into place. Then we're done, he said. Just like that? What do you want from me, Mia? You want me to quit? Walk away from everything I've built? I can't do that. I'm not asking you to quit. I'm asking you to let me in. I am letting you in. More than I've let anyone in years. Then why does it still feel like you're keeping me at arm's length? He stood up abruptly, the chair scraping loud against the floor. Because the closer you get, the more danger you're in. And I'm trying... His voice cracked, just slightly. I'm trying to protect you. From what? From me. From my world. From everything that comes with it. She stood too, stepped into his space. I didn't ask for protection. You should have. They stood there, inches apart, breathing hard like they'd been fighting instead of talking. She could see the conflict in his eyes, the war between wanting to push her away and pull her closer. I can't do this halfway, she said, Either I'm in or I'm out. But you need to decide what you want. I want you safe. That's not what I asked. His hand came up, cupped her jaw, thumb brushing across her cheekbone. I want you. All of you. Even though I shouldn't. Then stop trying to protect me from yourself and just... He kissed her. Hard, desperate, tasting like regret and need and something that felt dangerously close to love. She kissed him back, fingers twisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. When they broke apart, they were both breathing hard. Come home with me, he said. I have to get back to work. Fuck work. She should have said no, should have drawn a boundary. But she was so tired of fighting, so tired of pretending she didn't need him as much as he seemed to need her. Okay. They barely made it through the door of his penthouse before he had her against the wall, dress rucked up around her hips, his mouth on her neck. She arched into him, nails dragging down his back, and when he lifted her, she wrapped her legs around his waist and let him carry her to the bedroom. Afterward, they lay tangled together, sweaty and spent. His fingers traced patterns on her shoulder, and for a while neither of them spoke. I'm trying, he said finally. I know I'm shit at this. At us. But I'm trying. I know. I don't want to lose you. Then don't. It's not that simple. It could be. He laughed, bitter. You still think the world is that straightforward. And you think it's more complicated than it is. He rolled over, propped himself up on one elbow to look at her. You don't understand what you're asking me to do. Then explain it to me. If I tell you everything, if I bring you all the way in, you become a liability. To me. To the people I work with. And if something goes wrong, nothing's going to go wrong. You don't know that. Neither do you. He studied her face like he was memorizing it. You're stubborn. So are you. This is a mistake. Probably. He kissed her again, softer this time. I'll tell you. Everything. But not today. When? Soon. Wasn't the answer she wanted, but it was more than she'd had before. She'd take it. The next 2 weeks were good. Better than good. Dante made an effort, showed up on time, answered his phone when she called, even took a weekend off to drive her upstate to some cabin he owned that overlooked a lake so still it looked like glass. They didn't talk about his work, didn't talk about the arrangement or what they were becoming. They just existed in the space between, and for a while, it was enough. But on the third week, everything fell apart. It started with a phone call. She was at his place, making coffee in his kitchen while he showered, when his phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it without thinking, saw the name on the screen. Marco. She didn't know who Marco was, didn't know why seeing the name made her stomach drop. But before she could look away, the phone buzzed again. A text this time, the preview visible on the lock screen. He's not going to wait much longer. Either you handle it, or I will. Her hands went cold. She set down the coffee mug, stared at the message like it might rearrange itself into something less ominous. The shower cut off. She heard Dante moving around in the bathroom, and she had maybe 30 seconds before he came out. She should have walked away. Should have pretended she hadn't seen anything. Instead, she picked up the phone. It unlocked. No password, no Face ID, just unlocked. She opened the messages, scrolled, and felt the floor drop out from under her. There were dozens of messages from Marco, weeks of them, talking about shipments, territories, people who needed to be dealt with, names she didn't recognize, amounts of money that made her head spin, and then, near the bottom, something that made her blood run cold. Jason's been asking questions, sniffing around. You want me to shut him up permanently? Dante's response, not yet, I'll handle it. The bathroom door opened. She looked up, phone still in her hand, and met Dante's eyes. He froze, towel around his waist, hair dripping, expression shifting from surprise to something harder in the span of a heartbeat. Put the phone down, he said. What did you do? Mia, what did you do to Jason? He crossed the room in 3 strides, took the phone from her hand. Not rough, but firm. Nothing. You're lying. I'm not. I just read the messages, Dante. Marco asked if he should shut him up permanently. What the fuck does that mean? It means exactly what you think it means. But I said no. For now? You said not yet. Because I needed time to think. Think about what? Whether or not to kill my ex-boyfriend? He set the phone down, faced her. He was becoming a problem. A problem? He came to my apartment once. That doesn't make him a problem. He didn't just come to your apartment. He's been following you, calling your friends, trying to figure out who I am. Ice slid down her spine. How do you know that? Because I have people watching him. You, what? After he showed up, I made some calls, had him looked into. He's been obsessed, Mia. Showing up at your office, sitting outside your building, asking questions about me. So, your solution is to have him killed? My solution is to keep you safe. That's not your decision to make. Like hell it isn't. You're with me now. That makes you my responsibility. The possessiveness in his tone should have scared her, should have made her run, but all she felt was anger, hot and bright. I'm not your property, Dante. I didn't say you were. Then stop acting like it. I'm trying to protect you. From what? A pathetic ex who can't take a hint? Jesus, Dante, he's not dangerous. He's just sad. Sad people do desperate things. And you think killing him is the answer? I think removing threats before they become real problems is the answer. She stared at him, seeing him clearly for the first time. Not the man who'd pulled her out of her own wreckage. Not the one who made her feel alive, but the one who solved problems with violence, who saw people as obstacles to be removed. I can't believe I'm hearing this, she said. You knew what I was. Knowing and seeing are two different things. You said that yourself. So what do you want me to do? Let him keep stalking you? Wait until he does something we can't come back from? I want you to not murder him. The words echoed in the apartment. Dante's jaw clenched, and for a long moment he didn't say anything. Fine, he said finally. I'll call Marco. Tell him to back off. You promise? I promise. She wanted to believe him, wanted to take the promise and hold on to it, but doubt had already rooted in her chest, spreading like poison. I need to go, she said. Mia. No, I need space. I need to think. Don't do this. Do what? Ask for time to process the fact that my boyfriend was considering having my ex killed? I said I wouldn't. You said not yet. That's not the same thing. He reached for her, but she stepped back. The hurt that flashed across his face was brief, quickly buried. How long? He asked. I don't know. Mia, please, just give me space. He nodded slowly, stepped back, let her go. She grabbed her purse, her keys, and walked out. Didn't look back, didn't trust herself to. Bob, boy must 3 days. She made it 3 days before the guilt started eating at her. She'd been unfair. She knew that. Dante had promised to back off, had told Marco to stand down, and she'd walked out anyway. But every time she thought about going back, about calling him, she remembered the messages. The casual way they'd discussed violence like it was business, like it was normal. And maybe for him, it was. But it wasn't for her. Couldn't be. She was sitting in her apartment, staring at her phone, trying to decide what to do, when someone knocked on her door. She wasn't expecting anyone. Thought about ignoring it. But the knock came again, harder this time, and something in the urgency made her get up. She checked the peephole. Jason. Her stomach dropped. She should have walked away, should have called Dante or the police or someone. But part of her, the part that was still angry, still hurt, wanted to prove she could handle this herself. She opened the door, left the chain on. What do you want? He looked worse than last time. Thinner. Eyes bloodshot. I need to talk to you. I have nothing to say. Please, Mia, 5 minutes. No. It's about your boyfriend. Her blood went cold. What about him? Can I come in? No. Fine, out here then. He glanced down the hallway, lowered his voice. I've been asking around, trying to figure out who this guy is. And Mia, he's not who you think he is. I know exactly who he is. Do you? Because I've got sources that say he works for the Rossi family. You know what that means? Jason, it means he's a criminal, Mia. He hurts people for a living. And you're sleeping with him? Get out. I'm trying to help you. You're trying to control me. Again. And I'm done with it. His expression shifted. Something desperate and ugly. You think he cares about you? He doesn't. Guys like him, they don't care about anyone. You're just... The door across the hall opened. Her neighbor, Mrs. Chen, poked her head out. Everything okay, Mia? Fine, Mrs. Chen, thank you. Jason glared at the older woman, then back at Mia. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Don't come back here, Jason. I mean it. She closed the door, locked it, leaned against it, heart pounding. Her phone buzzed. Dante, are you okay? She stared at the message. How did he know? Was he still having her watched? The thought should have made her angry, but all she felt was a strange, twisted relief. Jason just showed up. The response was immediate. Where? My apartment. He left. Are you hurt? No, I'm coming over. Don't. Too late. I'm already in the car. She wanted to argue, but the truth was she didn't want to be alone. Didn't want to sit with the fear curling in her stomach, the realization that Jason wasn't going to let this go. Dante showed up 15 minutes later. She let him in without a word, and he pulled her into his arms, held her tight. What did he say? He asked. That he knows who you are, that you work for the Rossis, that you're dangerous. He's not wrong. I know. He pulled back, looked at her. I told Marco to leave him alone. But if he keeps showing up, don't. Don't finish that sentence. Mia, I'm not asking you to protect me, Dante. I'm asking you to not make this worse. And if he doesn't stop, then I'll deal with it. How? I don't know, but not your way. He looked like he wanted to argue, but he didn't, just nodded, jaw tight. Okay, promise me. I promise. She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that he'd keep his word, but the doubt was still there, whispering that she was a fool for staying. A week later, Jason disappeared. She didn't hear about it right away. Didn't know until his sister called her, voice shaking, asking if Mia had seen him. He'd missed work. Wasn't answering his phone. His apartment was empty, car still in the lot. I don't know where he is, his sister said. I thought maybe he'd reached out to you. He hasn't, Mia lied. I'm sorry, I can't help. She hung up, stared at her phone, felt the dread settle in her bones. She called Dante. He answered on the second ring. Jason's missing, she said. Silence. Dante, I heard you. Did you do this? No. Swear to me. I swear, Mia, it wasn't me. Then who? Another pause, longer this time. I don't know, but I'll find out. She hung up. Didn't believe him. Couldn't. That night, she showed up at his penthouse unannounced, walked in using the key he'd given her months ago, found him in his office, on the phone, voice low and dangerous. He saw her, ended the call. What did you do? She asked. I told you. Don't lie to me. Not now. He stood, crossed the room, stopped in front of her, and the look in his eyes was something she'd never seen before. Regret, guilt, fear. I didn't give the order, he said, but I didn't stop it either. The floor tilted. She grabbed the edge of the desk to steady herself. What does that mean? Marco didn't trust me to handle it. He thought Jason was too much of a risk, so he acted on his own. And you knew. Not until it was done. Where is he? I don't know. Is he alive? Dante's silence was answer enough. She felt something inside her break. Not her heart. Something deeper. The part of her that had believed she could love him without becoming complicit in what he did. Get out, she said. Mia, get out of my sight before I do something we'll both regret. He didn't move, just stood there looking at her like she was the one breaking his heart. Please, she whispered, just go. He left, and when the door closed behind him, she sank to the floor and finally let herself cry. She didn't hear from him for a week, didn't reach out, spent her days at work in a fog, her nights lying awake, staring at the ceiling. Jason's sister called again, said the police were involved now, that they were treating it as a missing persons case. Mia said all the right things, offered empty sympathy, and hung up feeling like she might throw up. On the 8th day, Dante showed up at her apartment. She didn't let him in, just stood in the doorway, arms crossed. What do you want? She asked. To talk. We have nothing to talk about. Mia, please. You promised me. You looked me in the eye and promised you wouldn't touch him. I didn't. But you knew, and you didn't stop it. That's the same thing. It's not. To me, it is. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration bleeding through. You think I wanted this? You think I wanted to hurt you? I think you put your world above me, and I think you'll do it again. That's not fair. Life's not fair, Dante. You taught me that. His jaw clenched. If I could take it back, I would. But you can't, so where does that leave us? I don't know. She laughed, bitter. For once, we agree on something. I love you. The words hit like a punch. She stared at him, heart hammering. What? I love you, Mia. I know I'm shit at showing it. I know I've fucked up more times than I can count. But I love you, and I'm not walking away unless you tell me to. She wanted to say it back, wanted to fall into his arms and pretend none of this had happened. But she couldn't. Not yet. I need time, she said. How much? I don't know. Will you at least think about it? About us? She nodded. It was all she could give him. He stepped closer, cupped her face in his hands, pressed his forehead to hers. I'll wait, however long it takes. Then he kissed her, soft, gentle, like she was something precious he was afraid of breaking. When he pulled away, she felt the tears on her cheeks. I'm sorry, he whispered. And then he was gone. She closed the door, locked it, and stood there for a long time, trying to figure out if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life, or if she'd finally started protecting herself from one. The decision came 2 days later, not in a moment of clarity, not in some grand revelation, but in the quiet of her apartment, staring at her phone, realizing that despite everything, despite the lies, the violence, the moral compromises, she still wanted him. And maybe that made her as broken as he was. Maybe it made her complicit. But she was tired of pretending she could walk away. She texted him, "We need to talk." His response was immediate. When? Now. Your place. I'll send a car. 20 minutes later, she was in the back of a black sedan, watching the city blur past. When she arrived at his building, he was waiting in the lobby, took her hand, led her upstairs without a word. They stood in his living room, the city lights glittering below, and for a moment neither of them spoke. I can't do this halfway, she said finally. If I'm in, I'm all in. But that means you don't lie to me, you don't keep things from me, and you don't make decisions about my life without me. Okay? I mean it, Dante. No more secrets, no more half-truths. If we're doing this, we're doing it together. He crossed the distance between them, took her hands in his. I can do that. Can you? Because once I cross this line, there's no going back. I'm choosing you, Dante. All of you. The good, the bad, the unforgivable. But I need to know you're choosing me too. I am. I have been. Since the moment you sent that text to the wrong number, she searched his face looking for the lie, the hesitation. Found neither. Then show me, she said. Show me everything. Your world, your work, all of it. Because if I'm going to be part of this, I need to understand what I'm signing up for. He nodded slowly. All right. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. I know. And you're sure? She thought about Jason, about the version of herself she'd been 3 months ago, small, scared, settling. And she thought about who she was now, who Dante had helped her become. I'm sure. He kissed her then, deep, claiming, like he was sealing a promise. And when he pulled back, his eyes were dark with something that looked like relief. Tomorrow, he said. I'll show you tomorrow. Why not now? Because tonight, I just want you. And she let him have her. Let herself have him. Let the rest of the world fall away. Because tomorrow, everything would change, and there would be no going. The morning came too fast. Mia woke tangled in Dante's sheets, sunlight cutting through the floor-to-ceiling windows like a blade. For a moment, she let herself pretend everything was normal, that she was just a woman waking up next to the man she loved, that the promises made in the dark still held weight in daylight. Dante was already awake, sitting on the edge of the bed, phone in hand. His shoulders were tense, jaw set in that way that meant he was dealing with something he didn't want to deal with. What is it? She asked, voice rough with sleep. He glanced back at her. Nothing. Go back to sleep. Don't do that. Don't shut me out. Not after last night. He set the phone down, turned to face her fully. The exhaustion in his eyes made him look older, harder. There's a meeting today with the Rossis. I need to be there. Okay, so I'll come with you. Mia, you said you'd show me everything, your world, your work. That starts today. He studied her face like he was trying to find a crack in her resolve. This isn't what you think it is. It's not some office meeting where everyone sits around a conference table. I know that. Do you? Because once you walk into that room, you're not just my girlfriend anymore. You're part of this. And these people, they don't forget faces. They don't forgive mistakes. I'm not planning on making any. His laugh was sharp, humorless. No one ever does. She sat up, pulled the sheet around her. Are you trying to scare me off? I'm trying to make sure you understand what you're walking into. Then stop talking and show me. He held her gaze for a long moment, then nodded. Get dressed. We leave in an hour. The meeting was in a restaurant. Not the kind tourists stumbled into, but the kind locals knew to avoid. Tucked into a corner of the financial district, unmarked door, windows tinted black. Dante's driver pulled up to the curb, and before Mia could reach for the door handle, Dante caught her wrist. Rules, he said. You don't speak unless spoken to. You don't react to anything you hear. And if I tell you to leave, you leave. No questions. Understood? Understood. I'm serious, Mia. So am I. He searched her face one more time, then released her wrist. They got out. The air was cold, sharp enough to sting. Dante's hand found the small of her back as they walked to the door, a subtle claim of ownership that she felt all the way to her spine. Inside, the restaurant was dim, empty except for a table in the back where 4 men sat. They looked up when Dante walked in, eyes sliding to Mia with the kind of assessment that made her skin crawl. Varelli, one of them said. Older, gray at the temples, expensive suit. You're late. Traffic, Dante said smoothly. Marco, Vincent, Sal. He nodded to each in turn, then gestured to Mia. This is Mia. The older man, Marco, she realized with a jolt, smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. The girl from the wrong number. We've heard about you. She forced herself to meet his gaze. All good things, I hope. Depends on your definition of good. Dante's hand pressed firmer against her back. A warning. She took it. Marco gestured to an empty chair. Sit. We have business to discuss. Dante pulled out a chair for her, then took the one beside it. The other men watched her with varying degrees of curiosity and suspicion. She kept her face neutral, hands folded in her lap. So, Marco said, leaning back, the Mitchell situation? It's handled? It's handled, Dante confirmed. No loose ends? None. Mia's blood ran cold. Mitchell. Not Jason. They were talking about someone else, someone Dante had handled while she'd been worrying about her ex. Good, Marco said, because the last thing we need is another Caruso incident. Vincent, a younger man with a scar running down his cheek, leaned forward. Speaking of loose ends, what about the girl's ex? I heard he's been asking questions. Dante's expression didn't change. He's not a problem anymore. You sure about that? Because Sal here says he's been sniffing around the north side, talking to people he shouldn't be talking to. Sal, a wiry man with dead eyes, shrugged. Kid doesn't know when to quit. Kept asking about the Rossi operations. About you, Varelli. Got real chatty after a few drinks. Mia's heart hammered against her ribs. Jason. They were talking about Jason. And from the way they were talking, he wasn't just missing. I said it's handled, Dante repeated, voice flat. Marco waved a hand. Then we move on. The shipment comes in Thursday. Vincent, you're on pickup. Dante, you make sure our friends at the docks look the other way. Usual fee. The conversation shifted. Numbers, names, logistics. Mia stopped listening. Her mind was stuck on Jason, on the casual way they'd discussed his fate like he was a problem to be solved, not a person. She thought about his sister's voice on the phone, shaking with worry. Thought about the lies she'd told, the complicity she'd already embraced without even realizing it. Dante's hand found hers under the table, squeezed once. She didn't squeeze back. The meeting lasted another 20 minutes. When it was over, Marco stood, buttoned his suit jacket. Good to finally meet you, Mia. Dante's been keeping you a secret. Not anymore, she managed. No, not anymore. His smile was a warning. Make sure you remember what you saw here today, what you heard. This world, it doesn't forgive forgetfulness. She nodded, didn't trust her voice. Dante guided her out, hand still on her back. Neither of them spoke until they were in the car, the restaurant disappearing behind them. You okay? He asked. No. Talk to me. She turned to face him. Jason. They were talking about Jason. Yeah. Is he dead? Dante's silence was answer enough. The words hit her like a physical blow. She pressed a hand to her mouth, swallowing bile. You said it was handled. You said Marco acted on his own. He did. But you knew. You knew, and you didn't tell me. What would you have wanted me to say, Mia? That your ex was killed because he couldn't let go? That Marco put a bullet in his head and dumped him in the harbor? Would that have made it better? You should have told me. Why? So you could blame yourself? So you could carry that guilt? I have a right to know. You have a right to be safe. That's what matters. She stared at him, seeing the logic in his words and hating it. Hating him, hating herself for being here, for choosing this. Take me home, she said. Mia, take me home, Dante. Now. He told the driver to change course. They rode in silence, the space between them feeling wider than the city itself. When they pulled up to her building, she got out without looking back. He didn't follow. She made it to her apartment, locked the door, and stood in the middle of her living room, shaking. Jason was dead. Because of her. Because he'd loved her in his own broken way and hadn't known when to let go. Because she'd chosen a man whose world solved problems with violence. Her phone buzzed. Dante. I'm sorry. She threw the phone across the room, heard it hit the wall, clatter to the floor, and then she sank onto the couch and let the sobs tear through her. Seats. She didn't hear from Dante for 2 days. Didn't reach out. Spent the time in a fog, calling in sick to work, ignoring her mother's Sunday call, existing in the hollow space between regret and resignation. On the 3rd day, someone knocked on her door. She checked the peephole. A woman. Early 30s, dark hair, expensive coat. No one Mia recognized. Can I help you? She called through the door. My name is Elena Rossi. I need to speak with you about Dante Varelli. Mia's blood went cold. Rossi. As in the family Dante worked for. She opened the door, left the chain on. What about him? Not here. There's a coffee shop 2 blocks south. Meet me there in 10 minutes. Come alone. And if I don't? Elena's smile was sharp. Then you'll regret it. 10 minutes, Mia. She walked away before Mia could respond. Mia stood frozen, mind racing. This was a trap. Had to be. But if she didn't go, if she ignored it, what then? These people knew where she lived, knew her name, knew she was with Dante. She grabbed her coat, her keys, and left. The coffee shop was nearly empty. Elena sat in a corner booth, 2 cups already on the table. She gestured for Mia to sit. I didn't order anything, Mia said, staying standing. I ordered for you, black, no sugar. Sit down. Mia sat. Not because she wanted to, but because her legs felt like they might give out. Elena studied her with dark, calculating eyes. You're younger than I expected. Who are you? I told you, Elena Rossi. I'm Marco's daughter. Mia's stomach dropped. What do you want? To give you a warning about Dante. I'm not interested. You should be. Because the man you think you know, he's not real. I know what he is. I know what he does. Do you? Elena leaned forward. Do you know why he started working for my family? I assume money. Wrong. He started working for us because he had no choice. 3 years ago, he was a nobody. A fixer, sure, but small time. Handled divorce cases, corporate espionage, nothing major. Then he made a mistake. Got involved with the wrong woman. Mia's throat tightened. I don't see what this has to do with me. Her name was Sophia. Beautiful, smart, ambitious. She was working undercover for the feds building a case against my father. And Dante fell for her, hard. Didn't realize what she was until it was too late. By the time he figured it out, she had enough evidence to put half our organization away. What happened to her? Elena's smile was cold. Dante happened to her. My father gave him a choice, prove his loyalty or die alongside her. He chose loyalty. The words settled like stones in Mia's chest. You're lying. Am I? Ask him. Ask him about Sophia. Ask him how long it took her to die. Ask him if he felt anything when he pulled the trigger. Mia stood abruptly, chair scraping loud against the floor. I'm leaving. Sit down. I'm not finished. I don't care. Elena's hand moved faster than Mia expected, caught her wrist in a grip that was all steel beneath silk. You think you're different? You think he loves you? He doesn't. He can't. Men like Dante, they don't love. They possess. They consume. And when you stop being useful, when you become a liability, he'll do to you what he did to Sophia, what he did to your ex. Mia yanked her hand free. Why are you telling me this? Because I need you to understand who you're dealing with. My father trusts Dante. Too much. And that makes him dangerous. I want you to get close to him, find out what he's planning, what he knows about our operations, and report back to me. You want me to spy on him? I want you to survive. This is your way out, Mia. Help me. And when this is over, you walk away clean, refuse, and you're as good as dead. I'm not doing this. Then you're a fool. Mia walked out. Her hands were shaking so hard she could barely get her keys out of her pocket. She made it halfway down the block before she had to stop, lean against a building, and catch her breath. Sophia. Dante had killed a woman he loved, had pulled the trigger himself to prove his loyalty to the Rossis, and Elena thought he'd do the same to her. She pulled out her phone, stared at Dante's name in her contacts. Her thumb hovered over the call button. Then she thought about the meeting, about the casual way they'd discussed Jason's death, about the gun she'd seen in Dante's nightstand, the one he'd never mentioned, never explained. She put the phone away and started walking. She didn't go home, couldn't face the emptiness of her apartment, the silence that would let her thoughts spiral. Instead, she walked, block after block until her feet ached and the sun started to set. Her phone buzzed. Dante. She ignored it, buzzed again and again. Finally, she answered. Where are you? He asked without preamble. Out. Where? Does it matter? Mia, what's wrong? She laughed, sharp and bitter. What's wrong? Where do I start? Talk to me. Who's Sophia? The silence on the other end was deafening. Who told you that name? He asked finally, voice deadly quiet. Does it matter? Yes, it fucking matters. Who told you? Elena Rossi. She heard him curse, heard movement, a door slamming. Where did you see her? She found me, came to my apartment, told me about your past, about the woman you killed to prove your loyalty. Mia, is it true? It's not that simple. Is it true? Yes. The word hit like a gunshot. She stopped walking, leaned against a lamppost. You killed her. I had no choice. There's always a choice. Not in my world, not when it's you or them. So what, you just shot her, the woman you loved? I did what I had to do to survive. And you'd do the same to me. No. Liar. Mia, listen to me. I'm done listening. I'm done believing you. Elena was right. You don't love, you just consume. That's not true. Prove it. How? Walk away. From the Rossis. From all of it. Choose me over them. The silence stretched so long she thought he'd hung up. I can't, he said finally. Can't or won't? Does it matter? She felt something inside her shatter. No, I guess it doesn't. Mia, if I walk away, they'll kill me. And they'll kill you too. That's how this works. Then we run, disappear, start over somewhere they can't find us. There's nowhere they can't find us. You don't understand how deep this goes. Then make me understand. I've been trying, but you keep pushing for answers you're not ready to hear. Try me. He exhaled hard. The Rossis don't just run this city. They have connections everywhere. Politicians, cops, judges. They own people, Mia. And I'm one of them. I've done things for them, terrible things. And they have evidence, recordings, photos, enough to put me away for life. If I run, they release it all. And if they can't find me, they go after the people I care about. My sister, my nephew, you. The words landed like blows. You have a sister? Had. Past tense. She died 5 years ago. Car accident. Except it wasn't an accident. It was a message from a rival family. That's when I started working for the Rossies, to make sure it never happened again. Mia closed her eyes. Why didn't you tell me? Because it doesn't change anything. I'm still the man who killed Sophia. Still the man who's done things you can't forgive. Telling you about my sister doesn't make me a good person. No, but it makes you human. I'm not sure I remember how to be that. She stood there, phone pressed to her ear, city moving around her like she was a stone in a river. What do we do now? I don't know. Elena wants me to spy on you, to report back to her about your plans. Of course she does. She thinks I'm planning a coup, trying to take over from Marco. Are you? No, but she won't believe that. Elena's paranoid, sees threats everywhere, and now she's using you to get to me. So what do I do? You stay away from her. Don't answer her calls. Don't meet with her again. And you stay with me, where I can keep you safe. Safe? Like you kept Sophia safe? The words were cruel. She knew it, but she couldn't take them back. That's not fair, he said quietly. Nothing about this is fair. No, it's not. She heard voices in the background, someone calling his name. I have to go, he said. Can you get home safely? Yeah. I'll come by tonight. We'll figure this out. Okay. Mia? Yeah? I do love you. I know you don't believe it, but I do. He hung up before she could respond. She stood there for a long time, phone in hand, trying to decide what she believed anymore. She made it home just as the streetlights flickered on. Her building looked the same as always, but everything felt different, tainted, like she was seeing it through a filter she couldn't remove. She climbed the stairs to her apartment, key already in hand, and stopped. Her door was ajar. Not open, just cracked. Like someone had closed it but the latch hadn't caught. Her heart hammered. She pulled out her phone, finger hovering over Dante's name. Then she heard movement inside. She should have run, should have called the police, but something made her push the door open, step inside. The apartment was trashed, drawers pulled out, cushions overturned, her laptop smashed on the floor. And sitting in the middle of the chaos, on her couch like he owned the place, was a man she didn't recognize. Late 40s, graying hair, suit that had seen better days. He smiled when he saw her. Mia Callahan, we finally meet. She backed toward the door. Who the hell are you? Agent Carter, FBI. He flashed a badge. We need to talk. Get out of my apartment. Can't do that. See, you've gotten yourself mixed up with some very dangerous people. And I think you know more than you're letting on. I don't know anything. Bullshit. You've been sleeping with Dante Varelli for months, attending meetings with the Rossi family. You're in deep, Mia, and the only way you're getting out is if you cooperate. I want a lawyer. You're not under arrest. This is just a conversation. Then get out. He stood slowly, brushed off his pants. I'm giving you 24 hours. You call me, tell me what you know about Varelli's operations, and we can work out a deal. Immunity, witness protection, the whole 9 yards. Or you don't call. And when we bring down the Rossis, you go down with them. He pulled out a card, set it on her coffee table. 24 hours. Don't make the wrong choice. He walked past her, so close she could smell his cologne, and left. Mia stood frozen, staring at the card, at the phone number, at the promise of a way out. Then she looked at the destruction of her apartment, at the life she'd built that was now in pieces around her, and she realized with perfect crystalline clarity that there was no way out. There were only choices, all of them bad. She could cooperate with the FBI, turn on Dante, on the Rossis, and disappear into witness protection. Spend the rest of her life looking over her shoulder, wondering when they'd find her. She could do what Elena wanted. Spy on Dante, feed information to Marco's paranoid daughter, and hope she came out the other side alive. Or she could stay, with Dante, in this world that had already cost her more than she'd known she had to give. Her phone buzzed. Dante. I'm outside. Can I come up? She looked at the message, looked at the FBI agent's card, looked at the wreckage of her apartment, her life, her illusions. And she typed back, yeah, come up, because she'd already made her choice, weeks ago, when she'd sent that text to the wrong number. She just hadn't known it yet. Dante took one look at the apartment and went still, dangerously still. When? he asked. 20 minutes ago. FBI. Said his name was Carter. What did he want? For me to turn on you, give up information about the Rossis. He gave me 24 hours to decide. Dante crossed to the window, looked out at the street below. He's still out there. Black sedan, 2 cars down. What do we do? He turned back to her. We leave. Now. Pack a bag. Only essentials. Dante. Mia, they're watching you, which means they're watching me. If they think you're cooperating, they'll move on you. Use you to get to me, to the Rossis. We don't have time to debate this. Where are we going? Somewhere safe, somewhere they can't find us. You said there was nowhere like that. I lied. She stared at him. What? I've been planning this for months. An exit strategy, just in case. I have accounts they don't know about, property they can't trace. But once we go, we can't come back. You understand that? This city, this life, it's over. And the Rossis? They'll come after us, eventually, but I'll handle it. How? His smile was cold. The same way I handle everything. She should have been terrified. Should have told him no, that she couldn't run, couldn't spend the rest of her life hiding. But all she felt was relief. That finally, someone was making the choice for her. Okay, she said. Let's go. She packed in silence. Clothes, documents, the few things that mattered. Dante stood by the window, phone to his ear, voice low and urgent. When she finished, he took her bag, his own already by the door. Ready? He asked. She looked around the apartment one last time. At the life she was leaving behind. The person she'd been before a wrong number changed everything. Yeah, she said. I'm ready. They walked out together. Down the stairs, through the lobby, past the doorman who nodded without really seeing them. The black sedan was still there, just like Dante said. She saw movement in the front seat as they passed, someone lifting a camera. Dante's car was waiting at the corner. Different driver. She didn't recognize him. They got in and the car pulled away from the curb, smooth and fast. Mia watched her building disappear in the rear-view mirror, watched the life she'd known fade into the distance. Where are we going? She asked. New Jersey. I have a place there. We'll lay low for a few days, then move again. And then what? He reached for her hand, laced his fingers through hers. Then we figure out how to survive. She squeezed his hand, held on tight, because survival was all that was left now. Everything else, love, trust, the future she'd imagined, had burned down the moment she'd said yes to this world, and there was no going back, only forward, into whatever came next. The safe house was exactly what Mia expected. Small, isolated, the kind of place that looked abandoned from the outside. 1 bedroom, a kitchen that hadn't been updated since the 90s, windows covered with blackout curtains. Home sweet home, Dante said, dropping their bags by the door. Mia walked through the space, taking inventory. How long have you had this place? 2 years, bought it through a shell company, no paper trail. And the Rossis don't know about it? No one knows about it, not even Marco. She turned to face him. What's the plan? We wait. Give the FBI time to realize you're not cooperating. Let things cool down. And if they don't cool down, then we disappear for real. New identities, new life. I have contacts who can make it happen. You've really thought this through. I've had to. This world, you don't survive by being unprepared. She sat down on the worn couch, exhaustion hitting her all at once. I'm tired, Dante. I'm so fucking tired. He sat beside her, pulled her against his chest. She let him, let herself have this moment of weakness because she didn't know when she'd get another. I'm sorry, he said quietly, for all of this, for dragging you into my mess. I dragged myself in. I made the choice. You didn't know what you were choosing. Neither did you. He kissed the top of her head. Get some sleep. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow. She nodded against his chest. But sleep felt impossible. Her mind was too loud, too full of everything that had happened, everything that was still coming. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed, and Mia wondered if they'd ever really be safe, or if they'd just traded one cage for another. She woke to the sound of voices, low, urgent, coming from the other room. She sat up, disoriented, and realized Dante wasn't beside her. The bed was cold where he'd been. She crept to the door, pressed her ear against it. I don't care what Marco wants. I'm not bringing her in. Dante's voice, hard and final. He's asking, Virelli, not ordering. But you know how this goes. If you don't show good faith, I've shown plenty of good faith. I've done everything he's asked for 3 years. He doesn't get her too. He thinks she's a liability. The FBI's sniffing around. Elena's stirring up trouble. And you disappeared with the girl. What did you expect? I expected him to trust me. Trust doesn't mean what it used to, not after Sophia. The name hit like a slap. Mia's heart hammered as she listened, barely breathing. That was different, Dante said. Was it? Because from where Marco's sitting, it looks the same. Girl gets too close, girl becomes a problem, and history has a way of repeating itself. If he touches her, he won't. Not if you cooperate. Bring her in. Let him ask his questions. Prove she's not working with the feds. That's all he wants. And if I don't? Then you're choosing her over the family, and you know what happens then. Silence, long and heavy. I need time, Dante said finally. You have until tomorrow night. Marco's patience only stretches so far. She heard footsteps, moving toward the door. She scrambled back to the bed, dove under the covers, eyes closed. The door opened. She felt Dante's presence, felt him watching her. Then the door closed again. She lay there, heart racing, mind spinning. Dante had a choice to make, her or the Rossis, and she had no idea which one he'd choose. She waited until she heard him leave the house, heard the car pull away before she let herself breathe. Then she got up, got dressed, and looked for a way out. Because survival meant trusting yourself. And right now, that was the only person left to trust. She found a phone in the kitchen drawer, old, prepaid, probably a burner. She turned it on, hands shaking, and pulled out Agent Carter's card, stared at the number. This was it, the moment of no return. She could call, give up Dante, the Rossis, everything, walk away clean, or she could stay, see this through to whatever end was waiting. Her thumb hovered over the dial button, and then she heard the car pull back up. She shoved the phone back in the drawer, the card in her pocket, and turned just as Dante walked back in. He stopped when he saw her. You're up. Couldn't sleep. He studied her face, and she wondered if he could see the lie written there. We need to talk. Okay? He gestured to the couch. They sat, the space between them feeling wider than it had ever been. Marco wants to see you, he said. Her stomach dropped. When? Tomorrow night. And if I don't go? Then he comes here, and this ends badly for both of us. She looked at him, really looked, saw the exhaustion, the fear he was trying to hide. What does he want? To make sure you're not working with the FBI, to make sure you're loyal. How do I prove that? He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was barely above a whisper. I don't know. You're lying. Mia, what does he want, Dante? What do I have to do to prove I'm loyal? He met her eyes, and in them she saw the truth before he said it. He wants you to kill someone. The words hung in the air like smoke. Who? She asked, even though she knew the answer didn't matter. A Fed, one of Carter's team, someone they've had trouble with before. Marco thinks if you do this, if you prove you're willing to cross that line, then he'll know you're not a threat. And if I don't, then we're both dead. She stood up, paced to the window, looked out at the darkness beyond. You can't be serious. I wish I wasn't. Dante, I'm not a killer. I can't just murder someone. I know. That's why we're leaving. Tonight. Forget tomorrow. Forget Marco. We run now, and we don't stop. You said there's nowhere they won't find us. There isn't. But at least we'll be together. She turned to face him. You're asking me to throw away everything. My family, my friends, my entire life. To spend forever running. I'm asking you to survive. At what cost? He crossed to her, took her face in his hands. I know it's not fair. I know you deserve better than this. But this is what we have. And I need to know if you're with me. She looked into his eyes, saw the man who'd answered a text meant for someone else, who'd pulled her out of the wreckage of her old life and into something darker, more dangerous, more alive than anything she'd ever known. And she realized the choice had already been made, long before Agent Carter showed up, long before Elena's warning, long before Jason disappeared. The moment she'd said yes to Dante, she'd said yes to all of this. "I'm with you," she whispered. He kissed her, desperate, claiming, like he was trying to seal them together against the world. When he pulled back, his eyes were wet. "We leave in an hour. Pack only what you need." She nodded, started to turn away. "Mia?" "Yeah?" "I'm sorry for all of it." "I know." But sorry wouldn't save them. Nothing would. They were already too far gone, and the only way out was through whatever hell was waiting on the other side. She went to pack, and tried not to think about the phone in the kitchen drawer, or the choice she'd have to make when Dante wasn't looking, because survival meant doing things you never thought you were capable of, and she was about to find out exactly what she was capable of. Mia stood in the bedroom staring at the half-packed bag on the bed. Her hands had stopped shaking 10 minutes ago, replaced by something colder, calmer. The kind of clarity that came when you'd already made a decision you couldn't unmake. She could hear Dante in the other room, moving fast, efficient. He'd done this before, she realized, packed and run. Disappeared into the cracks of the world where men like Marco Rossi couldn't reach. But this time was different. This time he wasn't running alone. This time he was dragging her into the darkness with him. She reached into her pocket, pulled out Agent Carter's card. The edges were already worn from her fingers, worrying at them. 24 hours, he'd said. But that deadline had come and gone the moment Dante told her about Marco's demand. Kill someone. Prove your loyalty with blood. The words echoed in her skull like a death sentence. She looked at the card, at the phone number that promised salvation, witness protection, a new life, freedom from all of this. All she had to do was make the call. Her hand moved before her brain caught up. She crossed to the bathroom, closed the door, turned on the shower to cover the sound, pulled out the burner phone from her jacket pocket where she'd hidden it earlier, dialed. It rang twice before Carter answered. "I was beginning to think you wouldn't call," he said. "I need something," Mia said, voice low, "before I give you anything. I'm listening. Protection, real protection, not just witness relocation. I want guarantees that the Rossis won't find me, that Dante won't find me. You give us what we need, and you'll disappear so deep they'll think you're dead. What do you need?" "Everything. Names, locations, operations. But most importantly, we need Virelli. Alive. He's the key to bringing down the entire organization." Her stomach twisted. "You want me to give him up?" "I want you to survive, Mia. And the only way that happens is if you help us take them all down. Virelli included." She closed her eyes, saw Dante's face, the way he looked at her like she was the only thing keeping him human, the way his hand shook when he touched her, like he was afraid she'd disappear. "When?" she asked. "Tomorrow night. Marco's meeting. You're going, right?" "That's the plan." "Then that's when we move. You wear a wire, get Marco to talk about his operations, about the murders, about Virelli's role in all of it. We get that on tape, we have everything we need. And if they search me, if they find the wire, they won't. Our tech is too good. But if something goes wrong, if you're in danger, you say the word lighthouse. We'll be listening. We'll come in." Lighthouse. "That's right. Can you do this, Mia?" She thought about Jason, about Sophia, about every person who'd gotten too close to this world and paid for it with their lives. She thought about who she'd been 3 months ago, small, scared, settling for a life that didn't fit. And she thought about who she'd become, who Dante had helped her become. "Yeah," she said, "I can do this." "Good. Meet me tomorrow at 3, same coffee shop. We'll get you fitted with the wire and go over the details." She hung up before he could say anything else, turned off the shower, stared at herself in the mirror. The woman looking back was a stranger. Hard eyes, set jaw, someone capable of betrayal, someone capable of survival. She deleted the call log, hid the phone back in her jacket, and walked out. Dante was waiting in the living room, 2 bags by the door, car keys in hand. He looked up when she entered, and something in his expression shifted. "You okay?" he asked. Yeah, just needed a minute. He studied her face, and she forced herself to hold his gaze, to not flinch, not look away. We should go, he said finally, before Marco sends people. Wait. He stopped. What? She crossed to him, took his face in her hands, kissed him hard, desperate, like it might be the last time. When she pulled back, he was staring at her with confusion and something that looked like fear. What was that for, he asked. Just wanted to make sure you knew. Knew what? That I'm with you, no matter what happens. The lie tasted like poison on her tongue, but he believed it. She saw it in the way his shoulders relaxed, the way he pulled her close and held her like she was the only solid thing in his world. We're going to be okay, he whispered into her hair. I promise. She nodded against his chest, said nothing, because promises were just words, and words meant nothing in a world built on violence. They didn't leave that night. Dante got a call 20 minutes later, his expression going dark as he listened. When he hung up, he looked at her with something close to resignation. Marco moved the meeting up, wants to see us tonight. Tonight? Yeah, says he doesn't have time to wait. Either we show up or he comes here. So we go. Mia, we don't have a choice, right? This is what you said. We go, we deal with Marco, or we spend the rest of our lives running. He grabbed her shoulders. Listen to me. This meeting, it's not going to be like the one at the restaurant. Marco's going to push. He's going to test you. And if he thinks you're weak, if he thinks you're a liability, then I'll prove I'm not. How? She met his eyes, steady, unflinching. However I have to. He searched her face for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, but you follow my lead. You don't speak unless he asks you a direct question, and you don't react to anything you see. Understood? Understood. They left 15 minutes later. The drive was silent, Dante's hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel, Mia staring out the window at the city lights blurring past. She thought about the wire she'd be wearing tomorrow, about the confession she'd have to get, about the moment when the FBI would crash through the doors and she'd have to watch Dante realize what she'd done. The betrayal would destroy him. She knew that, knew it with the same certainty she knew the sun would rise. But it was the only way she survived. And survival, she'd learned, required sacrifice. The meeting was in a warehouse on the docks, industrial, abandoned, the kind of place bodies disappeared into and never came out of. Mia felt her stomach drop as they pulled up, Dante's headlights cutting through the darkness to illuminate a single metal door. Remember, Dante said, follow my lead. They got out. The air smelled like salt and rust and something darker, something that made her skin crawl. Dante knocked 3 times. The door opened. Marco stood there, flanked by Vincent and Sal. No Elena. No other guards. Just the 3 of them, which somehow made it worse. Virelli, Marco said. And the girl. Come in. They stepped inside. The warehouse was mostly empty, just some old shipping crates and a single table in the center with chairs arranged around it. Overhead lights cast harsh shadows, making everyone look like corpses. Sit, Marco said, gesturing to the chairs. They sat. Marco remained standing, circling the table like a predator sizing up prey. You've put me in a difficult position, he said. The FBI's sniffing around. Elena thinks you're planning a coup, and you disappeared with the girl, which makes people nervous. I'm not planning anything, Dante said. I've been loyal to you for 3 years. I've done everything you've asked. Have you? Marco stopped behind Mia's chair. She felt his presence like a weight on her shoulders. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're choosing pussy over family. Dante's jaw clenched. That's not what this is. Then what is it? I'm protecting an asset. An asset. Marco laughed, cold and sharp. Is that what you call her? Because I call her a liability. A pretty little liability who's going to get us all locked up. She's not working with the feds. Prove it. How? Marco walked back around the table, leaned against it, arms crossed. You know how. Same way you proved it with Sophia. The name hit the room like a bomb. Mia felt Dante go rigid beside her. That was different, Dante said, voice low and dangerous. Was it? Both times you fell for someone you shouldn't have. Both times that someone became a problem. The only difference is, this time you're hesitating. I'm not hesitating. I'm being smart. Sophia was a Fed. Mia's not. So you say. But I need more than your word, Varelli. I need proof. What kind of proof? Marco smiled. It was the kind of smile that promised pain. There's a man, FBI, been causing us problems for months. His name's Carter, works out of the field office downtown. I want him gone. Mia's blood turned to ice. And I want her to do it, Marco continued, gesturing at Mia. Dante shot to his feet. No. Sit down. I said no, she's not a killer. Then she's useless to me. And useless things get disposed of. Vincent and Sal moved, hands going to their waistbands. Mia saw the guns, saw the casual way they handled them, and realized this was it. The moment where everything either fell apart or she proved she was something more than a victim. She stood, slowly, drew every eye in the room. I'll do it, she said. Dante's head snapped toward her. Mia, I said I'll do it. You don't know what you're saying. She looked at him. Let him see the resolve in her eyes, the lies she'd built brick by brick. I know exactly what I'm saying. You want proof I'm loyal? Fine. I'll give you proof. Marco's smile widened. I knew I liked you. You've got spine. Dante grabbed her arm. Can we talk? Alone? No, Marco said. Whatever you have to say, you say it here. Dante's grip tightened. She could feel the desperation in it, the fear. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. You said it yourself. We prove I'm loyal or we're both dead. There are other ways. Are there? Because I'm not seeing them. He stared at her, and she saw the exact moment he realized he'd lost, that she'd made the choice, and there was nothing he could do to change it. How long do I have? Mia asked Marco. 24 hours. Carter works late. Leaves the office around midnight. You catch him in the parking garage. Make it clean. And if I do this, if I kill him, then your family, and family protects family. She nodded, turned to Dante. Let's go. He didn't move, just kept staring at her like she'd turned into someone he didn't recognize. Dante, she said quietly. Let's go. Finally, he moved. They walked out together, silence heavy between them. Got in the car, drove. Neither of them spoke until they were back at the safe house. The moment they were inside, Dante rounded on her. What the fuck was that? Survival. Bullshit. That was suicide. You don't know how to kill someone, Mia. You don't know what it does to you. Then teach me. No. We don't have a choice. There's always a choice. Is there? Because you didn't have one with Sophia. You said it yourself. It was her or you, and now it's Carter or me. So tell me, Dante, what's the difference? He ran his hands through his hair, pacing. The difference is, I love you, and I can't watch you become what I am. The words hit her like a slap. She'd known he felt it, known it in the way he looked at her, touched her, held her like she might disappear. But hearing him say it out loud made it real in a way that terrified her. Then help me, she said. Help me do this right, because I'm doing it whether you help or not. He stared at her, searching for the lie, for any sign that she was bluffing, but she'd gotten too good at hiding. Okay, he said finally. Okay, I'll help you. But Mia, once you cross this line, there's no going back. You understand that? I understand. You kill a Fed, and you're one of us. Forever. You can't undo it. I know. He crossed to her, cupped her face in his hands. I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry I dragged you into this. She covered his hands with hers. You didn't drag me. I walked in with my eyes open. Did you? I do now. He kissed her, desperate, broken, like he was trying to save her from herself. When he pulled back, his eyes were wet. We'll do this together, he said. I'll be there. I'll make sure nothing goes wrong. Okay? And after, we run. We take the money I've been hiding and we disappear. Forever. Deal? Deal. The lie was getting easier. So easy, it scared her. Back. The next day crawled by. Dante spent the morning going over the plan, how to approach Carter, where to stand, how to make sure there were no witnesses. He was calm, methodical, like he'd done this 100 times before. Maybe he had. At 2:30, Mia made an excuse about needing air. Dante was on the phone with one of his contacts, distracted enough that he just nodded. She walked 3 blocks to the coffee shop. Carter was already there, sitting in the same booth as before. "You're late," he said when she slid in across from him. "I'm here. That's what matters." He pulled out a small device, no bigger than a button. "This is the wire. It goes under your shirt, over your heart. The mic is sensitive enough to pick up whispers. We'll be listening the whole time." She took it, felt the weight of it in her palm. "What if they search me?" "They won't. Not if you play it confident. These guys, they respect boldness. You walk in scared, they'll smell it. You walk in like you own the place, they'll buy it. And after I get the confession, we move in, fast. You hit the floor, you stay down, and you let us handle the rest. You'll be in custody for maybe an hour just for show. Then we process you out, get you relocated. By tomorrow night, you'll be on a plane to somewhere the Rossies will never find you." She nodded, slipped the wire into her pocket. "What about Dante?" "What about him?" "He'll go to prison." "Yes." "For how long?" "Life, maybe longer, depends on how much he cooperates." She felt something twist in her chest, pushed it down. "Okay." Carter leaned forward. "You're doing the right thing, Mia. I know it doesn't feel like it, but these people, they're monsters. They've killed dozens of people, ruined hundreds of lives. You're giving those victims justice." "I know. Do you?" She met his eyes. "I'm here, aren't I?" He studied her, then nodded. "Yeah, you are." He stood. "Be careful tonight. And remember, lighthouse. You say that word, we come in." "Lighthouse." She left before he could say anything else, walked back to the safe house with the wire burning a hole in her pocket. When she got back, Dante was off the phone, pacing the living room. "Where were you?" he asked. "Walking, needed to clear my head." "You shouldn't go out alone, it's not safe." "I was fine." He crossed to her, pulled her into his arms. "I can't lose you." She held him, breathed him in, memorized the feel of him because after tonight, this would all be over. "You won't," she lied. They left for the meeting at 11. The wire was taped under her shirt, cold against her skin. She could feel her heartbeat against it, wondered if Carter could hear it through the mic. Dante drove in silence, hands steady on the wheel. When they pulled up to the warehouse, he killed the engine and turned to her. "Last chance to back out," he said. "I'm not backing out." "Mia, I can do this, Dante. Trust me." He looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay, let's go." They walked in together. Marco was waiting, same setup as before. But this time, Elena was there too, standing in the shadows, watching with those calculating eyes. "Right on time," Marco said. "I appreciate punctuality." "We aim to please," Dante said. Marco's eyes slid to Mia. "You ready for this, girl?" "Ready as I'll ever be." "Good, because there's been a change of plans." Mia's stomach dropped. "What kind of change?" "Carter's not the target anymore. He's too public, too risky. I've got someone else in mind, someone closer, someone who's been a thorn in my side for too long." "Who?" Dante asked, voice tight. Marco smiled. "Elena." The room went silent. Elena stepped out of the shadows, expression unreadable. "What the fuck are you talking about?" she said. "You've been plotting against me, daughter, trying to turn my own men against me, trying to take over, and I'm done with it." "You've lost your mind." "Have I?" "Vincent, tell her what you told me." Vincent stepped forward. "She approached me last week, offered me double my rate to help her stage a coup. Said her father was getting weak, that it was time for new leadership." Elena's face went pale. "That's a lie." "Is it?" Marco's voice was cold. "You've always been ambitious, always thought you were smarter than me, but you forgot one thing. This is my empire. And I don't share power. Papa, don't. You made your choice. Now you live with the consequences." He turned to Mia. "Kill her." The words landed like a bomb. Mia felt the room tilt, felt the wire against her chest suddenly burning hot. "What?" she managed. "You wanted to prove your loyalty. This is how. My own daughter tried to destroy me. and you're going to be the one to end her. Dante stepped forward. Marco, this is insane. Let's talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. She either does this, or I kill you both. Starting with you, Varelli. Vincent and Sal drew their guns, pointed them at Dante's head. Mia's mind raced. This wasn't the plan. Carter was listening. The FBI was listening. They'd heard Marco confess to ordering a murder. That should be enough. She could say the words, say lighthouse, and end this. But if she did, Dante died. Right here. Right now. And she'd be the one who got him killed. Marco pulled a gun from his waistband, handed it to her. Make it quick, 1 shot to the head. She won't feel a thing. Mia took the gun. It was heavier than she expected, cold. Elena was staring at her, eyes wide with something between terror and resignation. Please, she whispered. Mia looked at Dante, saw the fear in his eyes, the plea. She looked at Marco, saw the test, the final exam, and she realized there was no way out, no good choice, no path that didn't end in blood. So she raised the gun, pointed it at Elena, and made her choice. Lighthouse, she said. The word hung in the air for half a second. Then the warehouse exploded. Doors burst open. FBI flooded in, shouting, weapons drawn. Marco's men scattered. Gunfire erupted. Mia hit the floor, the gun skittering from her hands. She heard Dante shout her name, heard Marco cursing, heard the chaos of bodies and bullets and everything falling apart. Someone grabbed her, hauled her up. Carter. He was yelling something, pulling her toward the exit. Dante, she screamed. She saw him across the warehouse, hands on his head, Vincent's gun pressed to his temple. Saw the moment he looked at her, saw the exact second he understood what she'd done. The betrayal in his eyes cut deeper than any bullet could. Dante, she screamed again. But Carter was dragging her out, and the last thing she saw was Dante on his knees, surrounded by federal agents, staring at her like she'd killed him. Maybe she had. No, they put her in a car. Drove her to a field office she didn't recognize, sat her in an interrogation room and left her there for an hour. When Carter finally came in, he was smiling. You did good, he said. We got Marco's confession, got Varelli, got the whole operation on tape. This is the biggest bust we've had in 5 years. She said nothing, just stared at the table. Mia? You okay? Is he alive? Varelli? Yeah, he's in custody. Probably going to try to cut a deal, but with what we have on him, he's looking at life without parole. She felt something inside her crack. Can I see him? That's not a good idea. Please. Carter sighed. 5 minutes, that's it. They took her down a hallway, stopped outside a door with a small window. She looked through it. Dante sat in a chair, hands cuffed to the table. His face was bruised, lips split. But his eyes were what killed her. Empty. Hollow. Like something essential had been carved out. She opened the door, walked in. He looked up, saw her. And the expression that crossed his face was pure hatred. Get out, he said. Dante. Get the fuck out. I had to. You have to understand. He lunged at her, chains rattling. You lying bitch. You set me up. You wore a fucking wire. Carter stepped in, grabbed her arm. Time's up. Dante, please. I loved you, he screamed. I would have died for you, and you sold me out. I'm sorry. Us. Sorry? You're sorry? He laughed, wild and broken. You just destroyed everything, my life, my freedom, everything. And you're sorry? I didn't have a choice. There's always a choice. You just chose yourself over me. The words hit like bullets. Because he was right. She had chosen herself, chosen survival over love, chosen freedom over loyalty. And it was killing her. I loved you too, she whispered. Liar. Carter pulled her out, closed the door. She heard Dante shouting, heard something crash, heard him breaking, and she knew she'd never forgive herself for this. Never. They relocated her that night. New name, new identity, new life. Put her on a plane to Portland with instructions to never look back. She sat by the window, watching the city disappear below her, and felt nothing. No relief, no freedom, just emptiness. Agent Carter's words echoed in her head. You're giving those victims justice. But she didn't feel like a hero. She felt like a traitor, like someone who'd sacrificed the only real thing she'd ever had for the illusion of safety. Her phone buzzed, a new number she didn't recognize. She almost didn't open it, but something made her look. The message was short, 2 words. I'm coming. No signature. But she knew. Dante. Somehow, impossibly, he was coming for her. And when he found her, there would be no mercy, no forgiveness, only the reckoning she deserved. She deleted the message, looked out the window at the darkness rushing past, and waited for the end to find her, because she'd made her choice. And now she'd live with the consequences, or die with them. Either way, the game was far from over. It was just beginning. Portland was supposed to be the end, a clean break, a life rebuilt from ash and lies. Mia learned quickly that endings were never clean. The FBI set her up in a studio apartment in the Pearl District, 3rd floor, fire escape accessible, which she hated. Too easy to climb, too easy for someone like Dante to find his way in. They gave her a new name, Sarah Mitchell, and a job at a bookstore that smelled like old paper and coffee. Gave her a bank account with enough money to last 6 months if she was careful. Gave her rules. Don't contact anyone from your old life. Don't use social media. Don't trust anyone. They didn't give her a way to forget. She spent her first week jumping at shadows. Every footstep in the hallway made her heart race. Every tall man with dark hair made her breath catch. She kept the lights on at night, slept with a knife under her pillow, and woke up reaching for someone who wasn't there. Agent Carter called once a week to check in, asked if she'd seen anything suspicious, if she felt safe, if she needed anything. She always said no, even when the answer was yes. 3 weeks in, she almost believed she might actually disappear into this new life, that Sarah Mitchell could be real, that Mia Callahan could stay buried. Then she came home from work and found her apartment door unlocked. She froze in the hallway, every instinct screaming run, but her feet carried her forward anyway. She pushed the door open slowly, knife already in her hand. The apartment was dark, empty. Nothing looked disturbed, but she could feel it, the presence. Someone had been here. She flipped on the lights, checked every room, every closet, under the bed. Nothing. Then she saw it. On her kitchen counter, next to the coffee maker, sat a single white envelope. Her hands shook as she picked it up. No name, no address, just the envelope, sealed. She opened it. Inside was a photograph. Her and Dante, taken months ago at that restaurant where they'd had their first real fight. Someone had captured them through the window, her face turned toward him, his hand covering hers on the table. They looked happy. In love. On the back, written in handwriting she didn't recognize. He knows where you are. The photograph slipped from her fingers. She grabbed her phone, dialed Carter. Someone was in my apartment, she said the second he picked up. What? When? Today. While I was at work. They left a photo. A message. They know I'm here. Stay where you are. I'm sending agents now. Carter, it's him. It's Dante. He found me. That's impossible. He's in maximum security. He hasn't had contact with anyone outside prison. Then explain the photo. Silence. Then, lock your doors, don't leave, we'll be there in 20 minutes. She hung up, looked at the photograph on the floor, at the 2 people who didn't exist anymore, and she knew Carter was wrong. Dante had found her. Maybe not physically, not yet, but he'd sent a message through someone. A warning, I'm coming. She grabbed the essentials, cash, documents, the knife, and left. Didn't wait for the FBI, didn't trust them to keep her safe anymore. If Dante was coming, she needed to be ready, or she needed to run farther than Portland. She chose the latter. She made it to Seattle in 4 hours, driving a car she bought off Craigslist with cash. Found a motel on the outskirts that didn't ask for ID, just money, paid for a week up front and locked herself inside. Her phone rang. Carter. She let it go to voicemail, then she turned it off and threw it in the trash. For 2 days, she existed in a vacuum. No contact, no plan, just survival. On the 3rd day, someone knocked on her door. She grabbed the knife, pressed herself against the wall beside the doorframe. Who is it? Housekeeping. Wrong. She hadn't requested housekeeping. She looked through the peephole. A woman stood there, dark hair pulled back, expensive coat, face she recognized. Elena Rossi. Alive. Somehow alive. Mia's blood turned to ice. She'd watched Marco order Elena's death, had pointed a gun at her, had said the word that brought the FBI crashing in. Elena should be dead, or in custody. She wasn't either. "I know you're in there, Mia," Elena said calmly. "Open the door. We need to talk." "Fuck you. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help." "I don't need your help." "Yes, you do, because my father's men are 3 blocks away, and they're coming for you. You have about 5 minutes to decide if you want to live or die." Mia's grip tightened on the knife. "You're lying." "Am I?" "Check the parking lot. Black SUV. 2 men inside. They've been there since this morning, waiting for me to confirm it's you." Mia moved to the window, pulled back the curtain just enough to see. The SUV was there, just like Elena said. "Why would you help me?" Mia asked through the door. "Because we have a common enemy, and the enemy of my enemy is useful. Now open the door before they realize I'm warning you instead of killing you." Mia hesitated. Every instinct said this was a trap. But if Marco's men were really out there, she was dead either way. She opened the door, kept the knife visible. Elena stepped inside, closed the door behind her, looked around the cheap motel room with barely concealed disgust. "This is what witness protection gets you? Pathetic. What do you want?" "To offer you a deal. My father thinks you killed me. The FBI thinks you killed me. Everyone thinks I'm dead because I made sure they did. I have a new identity, a new life, same as you. But unlike you, I planned my exit. I wasn't running scared." "Congratulations. What does that have to do with me?" Elena sat down on the bed, crossed her legs. "Dante escaped prison 2 days ago." The room tilted. "What?" "He had help from the inside. Guards on my father's payroll. They staged it to look like a transfer gone wrong. 3 guards dead, 1 prisoner missing. The FBI's been keeping it quiet, trying to find him before the media gets wind." "How do you know this?" "Because I still have contacts, people loyal to me, not my father. And one of them sent word that Dante's looking for you, that he's called in every favor, burned through every connection to track you down." Mia's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the chair by the window. "He's going to kill me." "Probably, unless you kill him first." "I can't." "You can. You already proved you're capable of betrayal. Murder's just the next step." The words stung because they were true. "Why are you telling me this?" Elena leaned forward, eyes hard. "Because Dante's a problem for me too. As long as he's alive, as long as he's hunting, he's unpredictable, dangerous. And I can't have that. So you're going to help me eliminate him." "I'm not helping you with anything." "Then you're dead. It's that simple. My father's men will find you, torture you for information about where Dante might go, then dump your body in the Sound. Or you work with me, we take care of Dante together, and you actually get to live. What's in it for you?" "Peace, closure, and the satisfaction of watching the man who helped my father keep me under his thumb finally get what he deserves." Mia stared at her. "You hated Dante." "I hated what he represented, my father's enforcer, his most loyal weapon. But Dante was never loyal to Marco. He was loyal to himself. And when the FBI came crashing in, he could have given me up. Could have told them I was the one planning the coup, not him. But he didn't. He stayed silent, and that bought me time to disappear." "So this is gratitude?" "This is pragmatism. Help me, and we both survive. Refuse, and you die alone in a shitty motel while Dante picks his teeth with your bones." Mia looked out the window at the SUV, at the men waiting, at the life she'd tried to build crumbling around her again. "What do you want me to do?" she asked. Elena smiled. "I want you to lure him out, make contact, tell him you want to meet, to explain, to apologize, whatever lie he'll believe. And when he shows up, I'll be there with enough firepower to end this. He'll never believe me. He will, because underneath all that rage, he still loves you, and love makes people stupid." Mia's throat tightened. "I don't have a phone. I threw it away." Elena pulled out a burner from her coat pocket. "Use this. His number's already programmed in. 1 text. That's all it takes." Mia took the phone, felt the weight of it in her palm like a grenade. "And if I do this?" she asked. "If I help you kill him? Then what?" "Then you disappear. For real this time. I have resources the FBI doesn't. I can get you somewhere Marco's men will never look. Somewhere even Dante couldn't have found you. Why should I trust you?" You shouldn't, but you don't have a choice. Elena stood, walked to the door, stopped with her hand on the knob. You have 2 hours to decide. After that, I'm gone, and you're on your own. Choose wisely, Mia. She left. Mia sat alone in the room, phone in hand, staring at the unsent message already drafted on the screen. I'm sorry, can we talk? Please. Her finger hovered over send, and she thought about Dante, about the man who'd answered a wrong number and pulled her out of her own wreckage, the man who'd killed for her, protected her, loved her in the only way he knew how, the man she'd betrayed. She thought about this hatred in his eyes when he'd realized what she'd done, the way he'd screamed at her, the way something had broken in him that could never be fixed. And she thought about survival, about the choices that had led her here, about the person she'd become. She pressed send. Comes, he replied in less than a minute. Where? Her hand shook as she typed. Gas Works Park, Seattle, tomorrow, noon. Come alone. I will. The lie came easier now. She barely even felt it. She texted Elena the details, got back a single word. Good. Then she sat on the bed and waited for tomorrow to come. Waited for the end. Gasworks Park was crowded at noon. Families, joggers, people flying kites in the wind off Lake Union. Normal people living normal lives, unaware that in the middle of their Sunday afternoon, someone was about to die. Mia arrived early, found a bench near the old machinery, rusted and towering. She could see the whole park from here. Could spot Dante when he arrived. Could spot Elena's ambush when it sprung. She'd spent the night thinking about running, about texting Dante a warning, about choosing him over Elena, over the FBI, over her own survival, but every time she thought about it, she remembered Jason, Sophia, every person who'd gotten too close to Dante's world and paid for it. And she remembered that love wasn't enough, not against men like Marco Rossi, not against a life built on violence. So she sat and waited. He appeared at 12:15, walked across the grass like he owned it, hands in his pockets, eyes scanning the crowd until they found her. Even from a distance, she could see the changes. He was thinner, harder. Something in the way he carried himself had shifted from controlled danger to barely leashed violence. Prison had broken something in him. Or maybe she had. He stopped 10 feet away, didn't come closer. Mia, he said, just her name. But the way he said it carried everything: betrayal, rage, grief. Dante. You look different. So do you. He laughed, sharp and bitter. Yeah. Turns out maximum security doesn't agree with me. Who knew? How did you escape? I had help. People who owed me favors. People who understand loyalty better than you do. The words cut. She absorbed them. I'm sorry. For which part? Setting me up? Wearing a wire? Destroying my life? Be specific. All of it. That's convenient. Sorry doesn't undo 15 years to life, Mia. It doesn't give me back what you took. I know. Then why am I here? Why did you reach out? She met his eyes, held them. Because I wanted to see you. One last time, before I disappeared for good. Bullshit. You wanted to see me because you're scared. Because you know I'm coming for you and you thought maybe you could talk your way out of it. Maybe make me remember what we had and convince me to let you go. Is that so impossible? He stepped closer. Close enough that she could see the scar on his lip where it had been split. Close enough to see the dark circles under his eyes, the exhaustion written into every line of his face. Yeah, he said quietly. It is. Because what we had died the second you said lighthouse. You killed it. Killed us. And I'm not the forgiving type. Her throat tightened. So what now? You kill me here? In front of all these people? No, I'm not that stupid. But I needed to see you. Needed to look you in the eye and make sure you understand what you did. I understand. Do you? Do you understand that I would have walked away from all of it for you? That I had money stashed, plans made, a way out? All you had to do was trust me. But you didn't. You chose the FBI. Chose safety over me. I chose to survive. And how's that working out for you? She looked away, couldn't hold his gaze anymore. I thought so, he said. You're still running, still scared, still alone, and you will be for the rest of your life. Because that's what betrayal gets you, Mia. Isolation. The knowledge that you sold out the one person who would have died for you. I know. Good. Then we understand each other. He turned to walk away, and Mia saw them. Elena's people. 3 of them, positioned around the park, one by the trees, one near the parking lot, one on the path behind Dante. She saw the guns, saw the trap closing, and she made a choice. Dante, run! He spun back, confusion flashing across his face. What? It's a trap! Elena's here! Run! The first shot rang out before he could move. Hit the bench where he'd been standing, wood splintering. People screamed, scattered. Dante dove behind the old machinery, pulled a gun from his waistband. Of course he'd come armed. Of course he'd... Mia hit the ground, crawling for cover as bullets tore through the air. She saw one of Elena's men go down, Dante's shot clean through the chest. Saw the second one return fire, forcing Dante back. Chaos erupted, parents grabbing children, people running in every direction, sirens already wailing in the distance. Mia's mind raced. She'd warned him, saved his life. But now they were both trapped, and Elena's people were closing in. She saw Dante moving, using the machinery for cover, taking shots when he could. He was good, better than Elena's hired muscle, but he was outnumbered. She found a rock, heavy enough to hurt, threw it at the gunman nearest her, hit him in the shoulder. He turned, surprised, gun swinging toward her. Dante shot him twice, dropped him. Their eyes met across the park, a question in his. Confusion. Disbelief. Why did you warn me? She didn't have an answer, didn't have time to think about it. Elena stepped out from behind a tree, gun in hand, aimed at Dante. You should have stayed in prison, she said. She fired. Dante moved. The bullet grazed his shoulder, spun him around. He fired back, but Elena was already running, disappearing into the trees. The third gunman came at Dante from behind. Mia screamed a warning. Dante turned too late. The man tackled him, gun flying from his hand. They grappled, punches landing, blood on the grass. Mia ran, grabbed Dante's fallen gun, hands shaking so hard she could barely hold it. The gunman got on top of Dante. Hands around his throat, squeezing. Mia raised the gun, pointed it at the man's back, and fired. The recoil knocked her back. The shot went wide, hit the man in the leg. He screamed, fell off Dante. Dante grabbed him, slammed his head into the ground once, twice. Didn't stop until the man went still. Then he looked at her, covered in blood, breathing hard. Why? He asked. I don't know. Police sirens screamed closer. They had maybe a minute. Dante grabbed her hand. We need to go, now. She should have pulled away, should have stayed, explained to the police, let them protect her. But she ran with him, through the park, past the panicked crowd, to a car parked on the street. Not his, probably stolen. They got in. He drove, fast, away from the sirens, away from the bodies, away from everything. Neither of them spoke for 10 minutes. Finally, Dante pulled into an abandoned lot, killed the engine, turned to her. You warned me, he said. Yeah. Why? Because Elena was using me. Because I'm tired of people dying. Because... She stopped. Couldn't finish. Because what? She looked at him, at the man she'd betrayed, the man she'd just saved. Because, despite everything, I still love you. The words hung in the air, raw, true. Dante stared at her. You have a fucked up way of showing it. I know. You destroyed my life. I know. I should kill you right now. I know. He reached for her. For a second, she thought he might actually do it, wrap his hands around her throat and finish what Elena had started. Instead, he pulled her close, kissed her, hard, desperate, angry. She kissed him back, tasted blood, tears, everything they'd lost. When they broke apart, they were both breathing hard. I hate you, he whispered. I know. I love you. I know. We can't do this. Can't go back. I know. He rested his forehead against hers. Then what do we do? She thought about Portland, Seattle, every place she'd run to, every lie she'd told. We finish it, she said. Elena, Marco, all of them. We end this so we can actually live. That's suicide. So is running forever. He pulled back, looked at her. You're serious. I'm done being scared, done being hunted. They want a war? Let's give them one. A slow smile spread across his face. Dark. Dangerous. You've changed. So have you. Yeah, maybe we deserve each other after all. Maybe. He started the car. Marco first, then Elena, then anyone else who gets in our way. And after? After we disappear, for real, together. Think we'll make it? Probably not. Good. I'm tired of playing it safe. He reached for her hand, squeezed. Me too. They drove into the night. Two broken people with nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. And for the first time in months, Mia felt something other than fear. She felt alive. But they spent 3 days planning. Dante had safe houses Marco didn't know about, weapons stashed in storage units across the city, contacts who owed him favors bigger than their fear of the Rossis. Mia learned how to shoot properly, how to move, how to think like a predator instead of prey. Dante taught her everything, not because he trusted her, but because survival required partnership. And despite everything, they were still partners. On the 4th day, they made their move. Marco was meeting with his remaining lieutenants at a restaurant in the financial district. Same place Mia had attended her first meeting, full circle. Elena would be there too. Dante's contacts confirmed it. She'd crawled back to her father, played the victim, convinced him she'd escaped the FBI raid and gone into hiding. Marco believed her. Because family was supposed to be loyal. He'd learn better tonight. They arrived separately. Dante through the front, Mia through the kitchen, gun tucked into her waistband, heart hammering. The meeting was already underway when she slipped into position. She could see them through the service window. Marco at the head of the table, Vincent and Sal flanking him, Elena across from him, 2 other men she didn't recognize. Dante walked in. Every head turned. "Evening, gentlemen," he said. "Miss me?" Marco stood slowly. "Varelli, you've got balls showing up here." "I've got more than that. I've got proof." "Proof of what?" "That your daughter's been planning to kill you for months. That she staged the FBI raid. That she's been working with them to take down your entire operation." Elena's face went pale. "That's a lie." "Is it?" Dante pulled out a phone. Hit play. Elena's voice filled the room. A recording of her meeting with Mia at the motel. Every word, every plan, every betrayal. "My father thinks you killed me. I have a new identity. We take care of Dante together." Marco's face went purple with rage. "Elena! Papa, he's lying. That's fake. Doctored." "I know my own daughter's voice." Marco turned to Vincent. "Get her out of my sight." Vincent moved toward Elena. She pulled a gun, shot him in the chest. The room exploded. Sal drew. Elena fired, hit him in the shoulder. Marco dove for cover. Dante pulled his own gun, shot one of the unknown men, then the other. Mia burst through the kitchen door, saw Elena aiming at Marco's hiding spot. "Elena!" Elena spun, fired. The bullet hit the doorframe next to Mia's head. Mia fired back, hit Elena in the leg. She went down screaming. Marco emerged from cover, gun in hand, aimed at his daughter. "You betrayed me," he said. "Your own father." "You were weak," Elena spat. "This empire should have been mine." "It was never yours. You never understood that." He pulled the trigger. The shot echoed. Elena's body jerked, then went still. Marco stood there, gun still raised, staring at what he'd done. Dante stepped behind him. She wasn't the only one planning a coup. Marco turned, too slow. Dante fired. Center mass. Then again. And again. Marco fell, blood pooling beneath him. The restaurant was silent except for the ringing in Mia's ears. Dante looked at her across the carnage. "You okay?" She nodded, couldn't speak. He crossed to her, took her hand. "We need to go. Now." They ran. Out the back, through alleys, to a car 3 blocks away. Behind them, sirens wailed, but they were already gone. They drove for hours. North, away from Seattle, away from everything. When Dante finally stopped, it was at a house on the coast, small, isolated, the ocean crashing against rocks below. "Where are we?" Mia asked. "Somewhere no one knows about. Somewhere we can breathe." They went inside. It was furnished, simple but comfortable, like Dante had been planning this for a long time. "How long have you had this place?" she asked. 2 years. Bought it under a fake name, never told anyone, not even Marco." "You always knew you'd have to run." "Yeah, I just thought I'd be running alone." She looked at him, really looked. "Are you okay with not being alone?" He was quiet for a long time, then, "I don't know. Ask me in a month." "Fair?" They spent the night in silence, separate rooms, trying to process everything that had happened. In the morning, Mia found Dante on the deck, coffee in hand, staring at the ocean. She sat beside him. "What now?" "Now we figure out how to live with what we've done." "Can we?" "I don't know. Can you?" She thought about it, about Jason, about the people who'd died because of choices she'd made, about the person she'd become. "I think so," she said, "but I don't know if I should." "Yeah, I know the feeling." They sat in silence. The ocean roared below. "I'm sorry," she said finally, "for everything, for betraying you, for not trusting you, for... Don't." He set down his coffee. "We're past apologies, past forgiveness. We did what we had to do to survive, both of us, and now we're here. That's all that matters." "Is it enough?" "I don't know, but it's what we have." She reached for his hand. He let her take it. "I meant it," she said. "What I said in the car. I love you." "I know, I love you too. Even though I shouldn't. Even though loving you has cost me everything." "So what do we do?" He turned to face her. "We try. We see if two broken people can build something that isn't broken. And if we can't, at least we'll have tried. That's not much of a plan. It's the only one I've got." She smiled despite everything. "Then let's try." He kissed her, soft, gentle, like they had all the time in the world. And maybe they did. Maybe they'd actually made it. Maybe the running was finally over. Or maybe it was just beginning. Either way, they'd face it together. 6 months later, Mia woke to sunlight streaming through the windows, the sound of waves, the smell of coffee. She found Dante in the kitchen, making breakfast. Shirtless, scars visible on his shoulder where he'd been shot, reminders of everything they'd survived. "Morning," he said without turning around. "Morning. Sleep okay?" "Better." She'd started sleeping through the night 2 months ago. The nightmares were less frequent, the fear less constant. They were healing, slowly, imperfectly, but healing. "I've been thinking," Dante said, plating eggs. "Dangerous." He smiled. "We can't stay here forever. Eventually, someone's going to find us, FBI, someone looking to settle a score. We need a real plan." "Like what?" "Like leaving the country, new identities, actual disappearing." "You have the resources for that?" "Yeah, I've got accounts in the Caymans, contacts in South America. We could be gone in a week." She thought about it, about leaving everything behind, about becoming someone else entirely. "Okay," she said. He looked surprised. "Just like that?" "Just like that. I'm done pretending I can go back to normal. This is my life now, with you, wherever that leads." He set down the pan, crossed to her, cupped her face in his hands. "You sure?" "I'm sure. It won't be easy. Nothing with you is easy." He laughed. "Fair point. But it's real, and I'm tired of pretending, so yeah, let's go. Let's disappear for real." He kissed her. And in that kiss was everything. Forgiveness. Hope. A future neither of them thought they'd have. When they pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "I don't deserve you." "Probably not. But you're stuck with me anyway. Lucky me. Lucky us." They stood there, wrapped in each other, the sun warming their skin. Outside, the ocean crashed against the rocks. Endless, relentless, beautiful. And for the first time since she'd sent that wrong number text, Mia felt like she was exactly where she belonged. Not in spite of the mistakes, not in spite of the betrayals and blood and broken promises, but because of them. Because she'd walked through fire and come out the other side. changed, scarred, but alive. And so had Dante. Two broken people who'd found each other in the wreckage and somehow built something worth fighting for. It wasn't perfect. It would never be perfect. But it was theirs. And that was enough. 3 weeks later, they boarded a plane to Buenos Aires. New passports, new names, new lives waiting. As the plane lifted off, Mia looked out the window at the city disappearing below, at the life she was leaving behind. She didn't feel sad, didn't feel regret. She felt free. Dante's hand found hers, squeezed. She squeezed back. And as the plane carried them toward whatever came next, she thought about the text that started it all, the wrong number that changed everything. She'd been angry, heartbroken, lost. And Dante had answered, not with sympathy, not with pity, but with something better. He'd answered with honesty, with challenge, with a glimpse of a world beyond the small, safe life she'd been settling for. And yeah, that world had nearly destroyed her, had cost her more than she'd known she had to give, but it had also saved her from mediocrity, from a life half-lived, from becoming someone who just existed instead of lived. She'd chosen him, over safety, over sense, over every voice that told her to run. And he'd chosen her, even when she didn't deserve it, even when choosing her meant risking everything. They'd hurt each other, betrayed each other, nearly killed each other, but they'd also fought for each other, bled for each other, survived for each other. And in the end, that was what mattered. Not the mistakes, not the damage, but the choice to keep choosing each other anyway. Mia looked at Dante, found him already watching her. "What?" she asked. "Nothing, just thinking." "About what?" "About how a wrong number changed my life." She smiled. "Mine too." "You regret it?" She thought about it, really thought, about everything she'd lost, everything she'd gained. "No," she said finally. "I don't." "Me neither." The plane banked, turned south, toward a future unwritten, toward a life they'd build together. Not perfect, not easy, but real. And as the sun set behind them, painting the sky in shades of fire and gold, Mia closed her eyes and let herself believe that sometimes the wrong path leads exactly where you need to go, that sometimes the most dangerous choice is the right one, that sometimes love isn't about safety or certainty or happily ever after. Sometimes it's about finding someone who sees the darkness in you and doesn't run, who stands beside you in the wreckage and says, "Let's build something from this." Someone who answers when you reach out, even if you meant to reach for someone else. Dante Varelli had been the wrong number, but he'd been exactly the right person. And whatever came next, they'd face it together. Two broken people, one unbreakable bond, a love forged in fire and tempered in blood. Imperfect, dangerous, real. And finally free.